Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. They were now bloodshot. His clothes were covered in sweat, and his face was pale, as if he had lost some strength. A sense of weakness spread across his body. "Master!" Lu Jinbiao quickly walked up. His eyes were filled with shock and panic. "How long were my eyes closed for?" Wang Lin's breathing was rough, as if even breathing was difficult. He was like a mortal, and after a long time he raised his hand, signaling he was fine. Lu Jinbiao hesitated for a moment and spoke the truth. You just closed our eyes and seemed to stop existing. I turned around to look at you, and then you woke up." "An instant?" Wang Lin was startled. He had used the dream Tao many times, and he was always immersed for a long period of time, never just an instant. He looked at Lu Jinbiao and silently pondered. The blurry image from the dream Tao appeared in his mind. He couldn't even see the other person's appearance. Only an outline. He could only vaguely remember that a person had appeared, but thinking about it carefully, it was vague, as if he was remembering it wrong. He felt like someone had changed his memory. His mind trembled. If what I saw in my dream Tao is real, then who is he? Wang Lin thought about the pain and powerlessness he felt after awakening. He had never felt that kind of feeling before. He felt the illusion of death, and not even the 3-life spell could help. If he died, he would have really died. After a long time, Wang Lin gradually recovered. He sat there, looking at the Dong Lin sect, and his eyes slowly shined. One day, I'll know what secret is hiding inside. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he stepped into the Dong Lin pool. When he sat down in the pool, the water was up to his waist. Wave of coldness entered Wang Lin's body. Inside the pool, Wang Lin took a deep breath and no longer thought about the secrets of the Dong Lin sect. He began to cycle his cultivation and seemed to fuse with the pool. He had experienced this kind of feeling before. However, now that he was actually integrated, Wang Lin suddenly entered a strange state. This strange state was similar to the state he was in when he created Sundered Night. However, now he had entered it by force with the help of the pool. In this state, Wang Lin was immersed in a sense of confusion. It felt like a long time had passed, or maybe just an instant. Wang Lin opened his eyes, and there was a hint of confusion in them. He recovered a moment later and looked down at the pool below him. It had lost 30% of its water. Before Wang Lin asked, Lu Jinbiao said, "Master, 3 breaths of time has passed, from closing your eyes to awakening." Wang Lin nodded. "Failed, I only stayed in that state for 3 breaths, but nothing." Wang Lin frowned. He faintly felt that the many essences in his body had gained a bit of strength, but not much. The Dong Lin sect's ancestor said that the Dong Lin pool is related to the foreign cultivator sealed here. There is a chance to comprehend the special essence that foreign cultivator had. I didn't even see what his essence was, and I failed the first time. The Dong Lin sect's ancestor said that one only has 2 chances to enter the Dong Lin pool and will die on the 3rd time. Why? Will you die? If I can figure that out, perhaps I can try a few more times. Wang Lin pondered as he sat inside the pool and closed his eyes again. The moment he closed his eyes, he entered that strange state once more. This time, Wang Lin seemed to enter a state of confusion. Everything became a blur, and even his mind became muddled. He could vaguely feel a strange force enter his body. However, he could only feel it but had no chance of catching it. After an unknown amount of time, the confused Wang Lin suddenly saw a ray of light in his left eye. This light was very weak. If one didn't look closely, it would be impossible to see. This light immediately attracted Wang Lin's attention, but he could only see it in his left eye. The vision in his right eye was still blurry, and he couldn't see anything with it. This strange change caused Wang Lin's heart to tremble, but he still focused on the light in his left eye. However, the light was very far away. Before he could clearly grasp it, he awakened from that state. The moment he opened his eyes, Lu Jinbiao's words entered his ears. "Master." This time it was 5 breaths. Wang Lin looked at the sky in the distance and pondered for a long time. The light he saw with his left eye was still in his mind. "My left eye could see, but my right eye couldn't. This Dong Lin pool is more difficult than I imagined." Wang Lin looked at the pool. Now it had less than 30% of its water left. "I wonder if this pool water will appear again when it's used up. In addition, I have tried to comprehend twice and failed both times. On the 3rd try, I wonder what kind of danger there will be." Wang Lin pondered and then waved his right hand. The golden exalt sea dragon flew by and hovered around him. it had shrunken a lot. The golden exalt sea dragon appeared and immediately stared at Lu Jinbiao viciously. It let out a low growl and looked very proud. Lu Jinbiao was startled. Looking at the sea dragon, he gasped. However, his eyes turned and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It was unknown what ideas had appeared in his mind. Wang Lin didn't pay attention to them. He sent out a message to the sea dragon to immediately pull him out if something seemed wrong. He closed his eyes and immersed himself in that strange state for the third time. When Wang Lin entered the strange state, and the strange force inside the water entered his body, a rejection force gathered. This turned into a roar that echoed through his mind. This roar was extremely loud, and contained a sense of madness and unwillingness. "Lian Yunju, you ray despicable." This voice echoed inside Wang Lin's mind rapidly. It seemed to turn into a roaring thunderclap, causing his body to tremble. He felt like this voice was going to make his mind collapse. Under the interference of this sound, he was unable to immerse himself in this state, and was unable to comprehend. Just at this moment, a powerful force came from the outside. It was as if a giant claw had grabbed Wang Lin and pulled his body out from the Dong Lin pool. After leaving the pool, the voice in Wang Lin's mind disappeared. Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at the pool. His expression became gloomy. It is indeed impossible to comprehend a third time. If I hadn't prepared in advance and hadn't been warned by the Dong Lin sect's ancestor, although it wouldn't have been dangerous, it would be still taken some effort to leave. Wang Lin frowned as he looked at the little remaining water left in the Dong Lin pool and pondered. Why were the first and second times different from the third time that voice came from the mysterious force that entered my body from the pool after cycling once? Could this be the key? The force is checking how many times I have entered the pool? Then how does it judge how many times I have comprehended? And also that Lian Yunju, surname Lian, could that be the madman's ancestor, the name of the celestial ancestor? Wang Lin's eyes shined, and he looked at the pool. As he pondered, water slowly appeared in the pool until all the lost water had recovered. "Jinbiao, go down and try." Wang Lin was confident that he could protect Lu Jinbiao even if he went down a third time. He told Lu Jinbiao of the danger to pay attention to. Lu Jinbiao didn't hesitate to step forward and sit down inside the pool. After 4 breaths of time, he opened his eyes in confusion. "I saw a ray of light," Lu Jinbiao muttered, and then closed his eyes again. This time, he spent 5 breaths. When he opened his eyes, there was a clear flash of light in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. Very close to that light, but couldn't grasp it. Lu Jinbiao pondered for a bit, and then closed his eyes again. He attempted to comprehend a third time, following Wang Lin's order. Wang Lin watched Lu Jinbiao closely, and time slowly passed. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths until the 10th breath, when Lu Jinbiao's body began to tremble violently. Wang Lin moved Lu Jinbiao out of the pool without hesitation. While trembling, Lu Jinbiao's left eye shined brightly. Even when Wang Lin looked at it, it felt like he was looking at the sun. I touched the light and a voice echoed inside my heart, telling me the name of the light. This is the absolute beginning, the beginning of everything, but my cultivation level is not high enough, so I only comprehended a little before I couldn't bear it anymore. Lu Jinbiao took a deep breath and looked at the Dong Lin pool. "Master, I feel that the reason I was able to comprehend it a third time was because of my Tao of deception. In that instant, I deceived myself. Telling myself it was my first time entering by doing this, I deceived the search from the pool. Ever since I awakened from my reincarnation, I've been able to exert my Tao of deception on others. Does Master want to try?" Lu Jinbiao seemed to have comprehended something, and he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin pondered for a bit and then shook his head. He had an understanding of the Tao of deception and had also comprehended a bit in the dream Tao. He knew the method, and with his cultivation level, he didn't need Lu Jinbiao's help. With 1 step, Wang Lin immersed himself in the pool of water for the 4th time. When the strange force entered his body, he used the Tao of deception to deceive the water and immersed himself in that strange state. Soon, he saw the light in his left eye. The light moved closer and closer to him. A low voice muttered in Wang Lin's mind, "I have walked through the world and watched hundreds of millions of sunrises and comprehended the absolute beginning essence. Today marks the first watch, longing for the like button for the VIDEO. The VIDEO wants to charge up the trending charts, hoping the veteran supporters lend their firepower." As the voice echoed in Wang Lin's mind, the light he saw in his left eye became even brighter. It was as if his whole body was shrouded by this shining light. A comprehension toward the absolute beginning gradually emerged as Wang Lin was shrouded by this light. This was not an inheritance, but a display of the complete absolute beginning essence before Wang Lin. How much one could comprehend had nothing to do with the Donglin pool. It all depended on the individual. Perhaps some people could see the light the first time and would gain a comprehension of the absolute beginning. Perhaps after they left, a seed of the absolute beginning would appear in their heart. Some people would be like Wang Lin, who obtained nothing and their essence's strength increased a bit. But some people might obtain a majority of the comprehension of the absolute beginning essence in just 2 attempts. They wouldn't just take away a seed, but a germinated seed. Wang Lin didn't know if anyone had ever taken away the complete absolute beginning essence. At this moment, he was immersed in a strange state and seemed to have forgotten everything around him. The vision of his left eye was blurry, but his left eye contained the stages of the special absolute beginning essence. Wang Lin had forgotten the passage of time. When he was forced to awaken by the force inside the Donglin pool, the light in his left eye lasted 1 breath before disappearing. Still need a bit more. Wang Lin eyes shined brightly as he closed his eyes to comprehend inside the pool for the 5th time. He immersed himself and used the Tao of deception to avoid the inspection of the pool. This time, Wang Lin instantly saw the endless light before his left eye. Absolute beginning was born from the void. A long time ago, before there were celestials, the ancients looked at the sun and worshipped it to obtain its heat. As a result, the power of absolute beginning appeared. This power is very mysterious. It manifested when the ancients worshipped the sun for the first time, and when the sun first appeared. The absolute beginning power gradually changed. As the time passed and mysterious people appeared, the ways of the heavens changed until the law of absolute beginning appeared. The law of absolute beginning caused the sun to rise and fall. However, as I observed, I comprehended that the rise and fall of the sun was due to one's heart. Because the heart moves, the earth moves, so the sky moves. Then even the immobile sun began to move up and down. I continued to comprehend and watch the sun rise countless times. I comprehended the origin of the rising sun. This absolute beginning essence was the source of all heat from light. Wang Lin was immersed in this voice, and he clearly saw the light in his left eye completely shroud him. In that light, it was as if he was watching hundreds of millions of sunrises. During the hundreds of millions of sunrises, Wang Lin felt an aura. This aura was a straightforward and righteous existence. Those that were immersed in this aura had to be a righteous people. They might not hold up the world, but they would be people who could live with all their decisions. After a long time, Wang Lin opened his eyes from the 5th comprehension. When he opened his eyes, the light in his left eye lasted for dozens of breaths before slowly dissipating. When Lu Jinbiao saw Wang Lin's light, his heart trembled, not daring to look at it. Even the golden exalt sea dragon avoided the light. In Wang Lin's left eye, under the light, the outline of a sun slowly formed. However, when the light dissipated, the outline was unable to take shape. I am not a stranger to the absolute beginning back in the cave world. When I created Sundered Night, it contained the power of the absolute beginning. Since then, my comprehension gradually increased. Then, when I arrived on the immortal astral continent, my Sundered Night contained faith. I didn't expect this absolute beginning to also produce an essence. An essence is something that you understand to such a profound degree that you see through it and use it with a wave of your hand, Wang Lin muttered, as he immersed himself in the Donglin pool for the 6th time. Time passed. Wang Lin immersed himself in the Donglin pool. As the amount of time increased, the time he stayed each time increased greatly. On the 2nd day, right before daybreak, while the sky was still dark, Wang Lin opened his eyes inside the Donglin pool. His left eye released endless light, and a sun appeared inside it. The sky was originally dark, and the sun hadn't appeared yet. It would still need some more time to appear. However, when Wang Lin's eyes opened, the light from his left eye shined. It was as if Wang Lin had replaced the sun and dispelled the darkness from the world half an hour early. Comprehending the absolute beginning essence means you can control the rising of the sun and reverse night and day. My Sundered Night was only a spell before, but now, after comprehending the absolute beginning, it can replace the run. Wang Lin muttered as the light from his left eye enveloped his entire body. Lu Jinbiao and the sea dragon had both long retreated and didn't dare to get close. Wang Lin was covered in the light that was bright like the rising sun as he flew up into the sky. In the process of rising, the darkness in the sky dissipated layer by layer as if it were retreating. The darkness over the earth seemed to melt under the rising sun formed by Wang Lin, revealing the earth below. When the sunlight from Wang Lin's sun swept over the Donglin temple and shrouded it in light, the Donglin sect's ancestor sitting inside opened his eyes. He looked at the light outside the temple and silently pondered. Even I can tell if this light that dispelled the darkness is the real sun or a spell he has comprehended it. As Wang Lin rose into the air, the world became bright and all the darkness dissipated. This process lasted about 1 incense stick of time. Then the real rising sun slowly appeared in the distance. At this point, 2 suns were in the sky. Wang Lin turned around and looked at the rising sun behind him, and his eyes shined brightly. He watched the sun rise high up into the sky before he closed his eyes. Is this the absolute beginning essence I understand? The light around Wang Lin dissipated and he closed his eyes. He stood in the sky for a whole day. Only after the sun fell and the world was gradually engulfed by the darkness of night did Wang Lin's body slowly sink back into the pool. If the absolute beginning is the sunrise, then there must be another special essence that controls the sunset. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he immersed himself inside the Donglin pool. This time, when he used the Donglin pool, his left eye shined brightly, but the vision in his right eye was still blurry. Nothing could be seen. If what I see in my left eye is the light of the rising sun, then my right eye must see the darkness of nightfall. Soon Wang Lin awakened, but he didn't give up and tried again and again. It wasn't until it was late into the night, when the entire world was silent, that Wang Lin closed his eyes and immersed himself in the Donglin pool. The vision in his right eye was no longer blurry, but gradually became dark. This darkness formed a sharp contrast with his left eye. In this contrast, Wang Lin's mind seemed to be divided in half. One represented the light of the rising sun, and the other represented the darkness after the sun sets. I walked through the void and saw the darkness after the sun sets. After the absolute beginning comes the absolute end. The absolute end essence represents all darkness. The low voice echoed inside Wang Lin's mind again and lingered. Time passed. Wang Lin had stayed in the Donglin pool for 3 months. During these 3 months, whenever the sun rose, he would rise into the sky and turn into the sun that dispelled the darkness. When the sun set, he would silently sit in the pool, watching the night devour the light. 3 months of time, hundreds of sunrises and sunsets. Thanks to the strange sensation from the Donglin pool, Wang Lin slowly gained a profound understanding of the absolute end essence. However, unlike the absolute beginning, 3 months was far from enough for him to obtain the absolute end essence. Due to this, he had gained initial mastery over the absolute beginning essence, and his understanding became even more profound after 3 months. However, he was still sensing and grasping the absolute end essence. Wang Lin was in no rush to leave. He decided to live here and observe the changes of day and night. Sometimes he would immerse himself inside the Donglin pool to comprehend. Just like this, 8 years passed in a flash. During these 8 years, no new guest had come to the Donglin sect, and the Donglin sect's ancestor hadn't come to disturb Wang Lin. Wang Lin passed these 8 years in peace. During the 8 years, Liu Jinbiao had used some unknown method and got along with the Golden Exalt Sea Dragon very well. It even allowed Liu Jinbiao to sit on its back and take him out to see the world. After 8 years, 5 more years passed. For now, just the first watch today. Leah will rest tonight and start catching up on the missed chapters tomorrow. For cultivators, 13 years was just a flash. For the past 13 years, Wang Lin had comprehended the absolute beginning essence, so he now had one more special essence. As for the absolute end essence, after 13 years and watching the night devour the light more than 4,000 times, Wang Lin hadn't fully mastered it. But he had gained some understanding with the help of the Donglin pool. In these 13 years of comprehension, that low voice never appeared again. Wang Lin was sitting outside, on the altar outside the Donglin pool. His cultivation level had remained the same for the last 13 years, but for some reason, as he observed the sunrises and sunsets, his hair slowly grew longer. After a long time, he opened his eyes. His left eye contained a rising sun, while his right eye was filled with darkness. These two strange eyes caused Wang Lin to look very strange. The absolute beginning essence can fuse with the slaughter and restriction essences to become the fourth essence inside the thunder essence true body. As for the absolute end essence, I haven't fully comprehended it, and have only gained small completion, but I can still fuse it. Perhaps my cultivation will make a breakthrough because my thunder essence true body will have 5 essences. Wang Lin's expression was calm. The reason he had come to the Dong Lin sect was to find a chance to find a breakthrough in his cultivation level. Once he found this opportunity and his cultivation level rose, he could head to the Empyrean trial to complete his preparation to head to the imperial capital. As Wang Lin sat there, a shadow appeared on his body. Thunder arched as his thunder essence true body walked out and sat across from him. The thunder essence true body had a cold expression, and thunder covered its body. When Wang Lin looked at this essence true body, he couldn't help but feel a sense of destruction in his heart. The slaughter thunder inside this thunder essence true body contains an indescribable force of destruction. I am very unfamiliar with. Wang Lin looked at his thunder essence true body. It was wearing the same white robe as him. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin raised his right hand and waved at the thunder essence true body. Since you contain the slaughter essence and the thunder is filled with destruction, you should wear my black robe from my early days. Be the incarnate of darkness, and make it easier to comprehend the mysterious absolute end essence. With a wave of his hand, the thunder essence true body's white robe turned black as if darkness had devoured all light. When the robe of the thunder essence true body turned completely black, the destructive force inside seemed a bit more intense. As Wang Lin silently looked at his thunder essence true body, the absolute beginning in his left eye silently flew out between him and the essence true body. After a moment, it flew into his thunder essence true body. The thunder essence true body trembled and piercing light shined from his body. The light seemed to trigger a rejection force with the destruction inside the thunder essence true body. Wang Lin observed for a moment, but didn't pay attention to it. His right eye instantly turned dark like ink, and the darkness condensed in his right hand into the outline of a sun. Only, this was a black sun. With a wave of his hand, the black sun flew toward his thunder essence true body and began fusing with it. However, just as the black sun fused with the thunder essence true body, Wang Lin's divine sense suddenly spread out. It exerted a powerful pressure on the thunder essence true body so the essence would fuse according to his will. Although the dark sun didn't have much essence, perhaps it was immediately absorbed by the slaughter thunder because it was similar to destruction. The slaughter thunder changed once more. The slaughter thunder was an existence that could destroy the world and tear the void apart. After integrating with the absolute end essence, a destructive aura spread from the thunder essence true body, and even Wang Lin's divine sense felt like he could no longer suppress it. Slaughter all life and destroy a world. Tear apart the light so that night shrouds the world and turns everything into ruin. This was the full force of the thunder essence true body Wang Lin had made. However, this force was trapped inside the essence true body due to the restriction essence like a seal. Once this force escaped, it would create a terrifying calamity. The thunder essence true body was barely in balance with the restriction essence that was sealing the body. However, now that the absolute end essence was added, this already cracked balance collapsed directly. However, Wang Lin didn't expect any of this. When the restriction essence could no longer contain the destruction and collapsed, the light from the absolute beginning essence fused with the restriction essence. A new seal was created to form a balance against the destruction once more. Under this constant sealing and resisting, Wang Lin's thunder essence true body was like a fire ready to erupt. It was like a mortal holding fire in their hand. You either completely controlled it or got burned by the fire. Destruction and seal, darkness and light. At this moment, the thunder essence true body barely reached a balance. Although the absolute beginning essence had fused with the restriction essence, it was not strong enough to resist the slaughter and absolute end essences. The danger had not disappeared yet, but Wang Lin had to do this. From the moment he accidentally created the slaughter thunder, it was destined that this essence true body would be very different from the 5-element true body. In the thunder essence true body, the 4 special essences had fused together to resist it. When they barely managed to fuse into one, the essence true body opened its eyes. Its left eye was light and its right eye was dark. It stepped toward Wang Lin and overlapped with him as if it were transparent. Then it sat down and fused with Wang Lin. At this instant, Wang Lin's cultivation level suddenly increased from early-stage void turbulent. When his cultivation level increased, the world changed colors, and the clouds above him scattered. The sky above the Dong Lin sect was sometimes dark and sometimes bright. It alternated between light and dark until a rumble came from Wang Lin's body. A powerful gust of wind caused his hair and clothes to flutter. He had broken through to the mid-stage of void turbulent. Wang Lin suddenly stood up, and the changes in the world disappeared without a trace. Everything returned to normal. There was no wind, nothing moved, and it was silent. He stood there, and after a long time he moved. The golden exalt sea dragon that was even more in awe of Wang Lin flew forward, so Wang Lin stepped on its head. Liu Jingbiao swallowed, and also looked at Wang Lin with awe. This awe was the same way he felt back in the cave world, and it was no different here on the immortal astral continent. He quickly arrived on the back of the sea dragon and respectfully stood behind Wang Lin. His cultivation had mostly recovered during the last 13 years because of his memories and pleasing the sea dragon to get its help. The sea dragon rose into the air as Wang Lin stood on its head. He looked down at the Dong Lin sect and the Dong Lin pool below. After a moment, he clasped his hands and bowed at the Dong Lin pool. Although Senior is already dead, the grace Senior has given me is something I want to forget. Wang Lin's gaze fell on the Dong Lin temple, and for an instant, he saw the lonely and sad old man. Wang Lin let out a sigh, and the sea dragon flew off into the distance under Wang Lin's command. Behind Wang Lin, a sigh containing countless years of loneliness and sadness, along with an even more powerful sense of persistence, echoed. Due to his loneliness, he had created a dream from his memory to accompany him. Because of his sorrow, he stayed in this dead sect as he recalled his memory and silently stood guard. Due to his persistence, even if tens of thousands of years passed, the deeply hidden hatred and madness was ingrained in him like those words on the stone tablet. Wang Lin left. But he didn't leave the great sage continent. He just sat down on the peak of a mountain. With the golden exalt sea dragon as a guard, he laid down restrictions around him. As the sun rose in the east, he closed his eyes. I am going to attempt the Empyrean trial. Back then, I got through the fourth palace. I wonder how many I can break through this time. Wang Lin closed his eyes and calmed the violent fluctuations from his increase in cultivation level. After 3 months, he got familiar with his current cultivation level. He raised his right hand and waved, causing spells to appear. In the early stage of void turbulent, due to the limit of my cultivation level, I could only fuse 13 spells. Now that I am at the mid-stage of void turbulent, how many can I fuse? How many would it be with the help of the essence true bodies and essences? Wang Lin's eyes lit up in expectation. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin closed his eyes, and his divine sense gathered at his head. He formed an invisible body and charged into the sky. This time, I must become famous in one move. This time, I must make all the Empyrean exalts look up and watch. This time, I'm going to become rank 1 among Empyrean exalts. This time, I am going to become the Ascendant Empyrean. This time, I am going to use the power of the Heavenly Bull soul armor. Wang Lin's divine sense went into the sky like an invisible column of gas. He continued to climb until his mind trembled. When his vision became clear again, he saw the familiar Empyrean trial. He saw the palaces floating in the sky and the hundreds of Empyrean exalts sitting outside the first palace. Similarly, these Empyrean exalts saw Wang Lin, who had arrived at the ancient transfer array. White-haired Empyrean exalt. I remembered that he passed through the first 4 floors back-to-back before. I thought he would try the 5th palace, but he gave up and left. He probably knew he couldn't pass and left on his own. This time, he must have gained some insight and found some confidence to pass the 5th palace. It's him. Outside the first palace, there was a middle-aged man in black. He seemed to have an arrogant personality, so there was no one around him. He was the first to see Wang Lin arrive. His name was Xu Lin. Back then, he had passed through the 7th palace but stopped at the 8th. Not paying attention, this chapter quickly racks up 5,000 words. Does that qualify as a major chapter? Could it be wishing for the like button for the video? Empyrean trial had existed since ancient times in this strange space. Only when an Empyrean exalt cultivator's divine sense flew straight into the sky could they enter this place. Very few people could see through the principle of the structure of this place. They only knew that the celestial ancestor had created this place imitating the immemorial god realm. This was to allow the celestial descendants to get used to the immemorial god realm in advance, so there was a higher chance of Grand Empyreans appearing. Over the countless years, the many Empyrean exalts would come here many times to attempt the palaces to prove their strength and become famous across the celestial clan. The Empyrean trial was a place the 5 Grand Empyreans put a lot of focus on. Almost 90% of the Empyrean exalts they took under them had passed a certain palace. Before the gazes of the hundreds of Empyrean exalts outside the first palace, Wang Lin arrived in a ray of light. When he got close to the first palace, the light disappeared and he landed on the ground. When he stepped onto the area outside the first palace, the gazes of all the surrounding cultivators landed on him. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked around. He had met some of these Empyrean exalts, but he had never seen most of them before. After all, over the years people came and went. Some left and others came back to try again. Those that knew him smiled and clasped their hands at Wang Lin. Wang Lin would respond with a smile as well. Unless there was a feud between 2 Empyrean exalts, they would often make friends unless one had an arrogant personality. Although Wang Lin had disappeared for a few decades, he had caused a small sensation when he passed several palaces in a row, so some Empyrean exalts were willing to make friends with him. However, passing through 4 palaces was not enough in the eyes of some Empyrean exalts. Some of them had slightly cold gazes. A few years ago, I heard that this white-haired Empyrean exalt entered the first palace and failed but then passed 4 in a row. He is not ordinary. 4 palaces. So what if it was only 4 palaces? Who among us can pass through 4 palaces? It's just a gimmick he pulled by failing the first palace and then passing the first 4 in a row. That's true. I estimate this white-haired Empyrean exalt will at most pass the 5th palace. The surrounding Empyrean exalts all looked at Wang Lin. Those that were friendly talked with their minds. Among them, some recognized Wang Lin while others felt contempt. Each had their own thoughts. However, at the Empyrean exalt stage, they wouldn't show any of it on their faces. In the distance, Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin was sitting there, looking at Wang Lin. A moment later, he closed his eyes and no longer looked. He would not look down upon any Empyrean exalt cultivator, but he didn't think Wang Lin could pass the 7th palace. Although he paid attention to those below the 7th palace, it was limited. Wang Lin didn't immediately attempt the Empyrean trail but stood outside the first palace and looked up. Each palace was higher than the other, and the 9th palace was blurry. Over the years, Wang Lin already understood that the Empyrean trial had a total of 19 palaces. Less than 60 Empyrean exalts could break through the 9th palace. Those people were at the peak of the Empyrean exalt stage. With one more step, once they passed the palace, they would become ascendant Empyreans. Every one of them who entered the Empyrean trial could set off a huge wave. After all, witnessing the appearance of an ascendant Empyrean was extremely rare. This could even attract the attention of Grand Empyreans to personally come and watch. However, the Celestial Clan only had 48 ascendant Empyreans, and over the countless years, there hadn't been a 49th. This showed how difficult the palace was. Only ascendant Empyrean cultivators could attempt to break through the palace after the palace. If you could pass the palace, rumor had it that you would have a great chance of becoming a Grand Empyrean. An ascendant Empyrean that could break through the palace had battle power not even a Grand Empyrean would dare to casually mess with. However, no ascendant Empyreans had broken through the palace. The most powerful ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, had stopped at the palace and couldn't pass. For tens of thousands of years, no one could surpass ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. Right now, he was the most likely person to become the next Grand Empyrean, and some called him the Celestial Clan's 6th son. Although his name was not as great as that of the Grand Empyreans, he was the most famous below the Grand Empyreans. The 8 extreme Grand Empyrean had spent a great price to attract ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao to work under him. He didn't treat Ming Dao like any other Empyrean exalt or ascendant Empyrean, but with even more courtesy. I might meet the famous ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao on my trip to the Imperial City. This person is the #1 ascendant Empyrean, and must be extraordinary. Wang Lin's eyes couldn't help but light up. This time, I must shock everyone with one move. This time, I want to see how far I can go without the soul armor. Wang Lin was calm as he closed his eyes. A moment later, his eyes opened and shined brightly. He flew past the first palace and quickly flew upwards. When he flew into the air, some of the Empyrean exalts looked up, but most of them kept their eyes closed and didn't care too much. Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin also cultivated with his eyes closed and didn't look. Once you passed through a palace, you could directly pass it and not be suppressed by the pressure from the previous palaces. Wang Lin's body quickly flew into the sky and passed the first 4 levels. He stopped before the 5th palace and stepped inside without hesitation. The moment he entered the 5th level of the Empyrean trial, his vision became blurry. It was the same feeling he had when he last came here. A moment later, his vision became clear and he was in a star system. The 4th palace had 36 planets and a golden planet. That golden planet had power no weaker than all the other planets combined. I wonder how many golden planets this level will have. Wang Lin looked at the star system before him and his eyes lit up. Before him, 45 planets changed their trajectories and flew toward him from all directions. A thunderous howl echoed. As they closed in, 5 planets suddenly turned golden in the blink of an eye. These 5 golden planets released a powerful pressure as they flew at Wang Lin. Wang Lin stood in the void and his expression was calm. As the planets flew toward him, he suddenly raised his right hand and his void turbulent cultivation erupted. 1, 2, 3, 11, 12, 13. Wang Lin clenched his fist and popping sounds echoed as 13 spells appeared around his hand. At this moment, his cultivation aura was still at early stage void turbulent, but it was still rising. I haven't gone all out after reaching the mid-stage of void turbulent. Let's see how many spells I can fuse into my punch now. Wang Lin's white hair and clothes danced as a powerful gust of wind swept by. His full cultivation erupted, and his aura went from early stage void turbulent to mid-stage void turbulent. The 14th spell. Another spell appeared in Wang Lin's fist. Following that, the 15th, 16th, and 17th spells appeared without pause as his aura reached mid-stage void turbulent. In the blink of an eye, there were 21 spells. According to my expectations, each level of void turbulent can increase the number of spells fused by 9%. The limit at the early stage of void turbulent is 9, and after reaching the mid-stage, it should be 18. However, due to the metal and wood essences, my cultivation level increased a little and I can forcibly condense 4 more to reach 22 spells. Wang Lin's eyes shined as the 45 planets closed in on him. The 22nd spell. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as a rumble came from his fist and the 22nd spell formed. A shocking power came from this fist. It was as if this punch could destroy anything. Should be able to do more the 23rd. Wang Lin roared but didn't immediately attack the incoming planets. He leaped upward and his right arm bulged. A powerful force seemed to replace the rapidly flowing blood in his body and gathered in his fist, creating a thunderous rumble. As the rumble echoed, Wang Lin's hair seemed to dance. His eyes shined as the 23rd spell formed in his hand. 23 spells is the limit of my current cultivation level. This extra spell was due to my time spent inside the Donglin pool that strengthened all my other essences slightly. Wang Lin lowered his head. Below him, the 45 planets flew toward him and the 5 golden planets gave off a powerful pressure. They were now only a few thousand feet from Wang Lin. Only one essence true body is enough for this 5th palace. A shadow seemed to overlap with Wang Lin's body as his 5-element true body appeared. Wang Lin punched at the incoming planets. The punch containing 23 spells combined with the avatar was equal to 46 spells, and this punch flew toward the 45 planets. As the thunderous rumbles echoed, the void collapsed and endless golden light pierced through the void. The golden light penetrated the 5th palace and covered the sky. It was seen by the hundreds of Empyrean exalts below. Here comes another 4,000 words in a major chapter. Leo doesn't make empty promises. Could it now be time to wish for the like button for the video? The golden light shrouded the Empyrean trial and colored the ground golden. The Empyrean exalts were all calm, as if they weren't surprised at all. Many people didn't even look up and were focused on their cultivation. They didn't even open their eyes as if the golden light from passing the 5th floor couldn't attract their attention at all. In the distance, Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin also didn't open his eyes. He was immersed in his own world, pondering how to pass the 8th palace. With his cultivation level, he should have the power to pass the 8th palace, but he was stopped there. It took this white-haired Empyrean exalt some time from entering the fifth palace to the golden light, appearing it was far slower than the rumored speed in which he passed the first 4 palaces. It seems like he spent some effort to pass the fifth palace. Although the time was still very fast, it is very similar to ordinary Empyrean exalts attempting the fifth palace. There is really nothing worth noting. I wonder if he will choose to leave like before and try this sixth palace now, but he shouldn't be able to pass the sixth palace. Those Empyrean exalts that looked up and secretly pondered. Some of them were a little disappointed. After all, the reason they cared was because they had heard of, or seen the speed at which Wang Lin passed the first 4 palaces. If that wasn't the case, then merely passing the fifth palace, although shocking, wouldn't attract too much attention. Wang Lin's figure flew out from the golden light of the fifth palace. He was calm and he didn't look down, but instead turned toward the sixth palace. His eyes shined and he charged at the sixth palace without hesitation. This was seen by the Empyrean exalts below, and they all focused on him. He is really trying to pass the sixth palace. I was stopped at the sixth palace. He spent so much time on the fifth palace, even longer than me. If I can pass the sixth palace, he will definitely fail. The white-haired Empyrean exalt didn't leave? The sixth palace, this is somewhat interesting. If he can pass it, it will be worth befriending him. Almost none of the Empyrean exalts below believed Wang Lin could pass the sixth palace. After all, the amount of time he had spent on the fifth palace was simply too ordinary. There was nothing shocking about it. Some of the Empyrean exalts that didn't open their eyes when the golden light shined from the fifth palace opened their eyes and looked at the sixth palace. Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin in the distance opened his eyes and was about to close them when suddenly a dazzling golden light came from his eyes. The moment the golden light appeared, Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin's expression became serious. He wasn't the only one whose eyes lit up. Outside the first palace, every Empyrean exalts here had golden light appear in their eyes. This golden light was not from their bodies, but the reflection of the light from the sixth palace. The sixth palace released shocking, golden light less than 7 breaths after Wang Lin entered. The light connected with the golden light from the fifth palace, reproducing the glory from the past. This Empyrean exalts below suddenly stood up and shock filled their eyes. He passed through the sixth palace. It only took 7 breaths of time. Dozens of years ago, he passed the first 4 palaces back to back, and now he has passed through the fifth and sixth palace. His cultivation is definitely not ordinary. To be able to pass the sixth palace means he can at least fuse 50 spells into his body. In the entire celestial clan, there are less than 400 Empyrean exalts who can do this. The Empyrean exalts below all had serious expressions and were looking at the sky. Even those who previously had their eyes closed and thought that this wasn't worthy of their attention opened their eyes. They looked up at the figure that was rushing from the golden light of the sixth palace. Those that could pass the sixth palace were considered powerful among Empyrean exalts. Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin stared at Wang Lin's figure, and his expression was serious. The current Wang Lin couldn't help but remind him of the figure that he didn't care about at first, but then attracted his attention by passing through 4 palaces in a row. The seventh palace. He is going to attempt the seventh palace. He is going to try the seventh palace. There are less than 200 people who can pass the seventh palace. Although he passed the sixth palace easily, the seventh palace will not be so easy. Perhaps he can really break through. The Empyrean exalts below looked at Wang Lin, who hadn't come down but was flying directly toward the seventh palace. His figure was being watched by almost all the gazes below. Some of them were filled with expectation, suspicion, and even disdain. It was clear that although Wang Lin had the strength to pass the sixth palace, many thought it would be extremely difficult for Wang Lin to pass the seventh palace. Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin no longer cultivated but watched Wang Lin's figure disappear into the seventh palace. Now his expression was extremely serious. If Wang Lin could pass through the seventh palace, it meant Wang Lin was on the same level as him. He was personally witnessing such a cultivator attempt the Empyrean trial twice. How could he not care? When Wang Lin entered the seventh palace, the surrounding cultivators were all silent, and they all looked up. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, 4 breaths, 5 breaths after the 5th breath passed, many of the Empyrean exalts exclaimed in disbelief. The seventh palace in the sky shined brightly after the 5th breath. This light connected with the light from the 6th and 5th palaces. It was like a sun that completely lit up the Empyrean trial. I awaits. The white hair of the figure that walked out from the 7th floor seemed to turn golden. The aura this figure released even caused some of the Empyrean exalts below to stop breathing. He passed the 7th palace. 5 breaths of time, even faster than the 6th palace. What kind of combat power does he have to pass the 7th palace? His name will shake the entire celestial clan in a short period of time. 5 breaths of time to pass the 7th palace. I have never heard of this speed before. The hearts of the hundreds of cultivators below trembled, and there was no longer any disdain. Instead, there was respect in their eyes. Some of those that were stopped at the 4th or 5th palaces looked at Wang Lin with complicated gazes. The gap between the strong and weak Empyrean exalts was extremely wide. Those that could pass the 7th palace needed to be respected even by Empyrean exalts. For example, Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin. Although he was arrogant, whenever he attempted the Empyrean trail, everyone would watch. The 7th palace Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin silently pondered. He didn't think Wang Lin had such strength. Will he try the 8th palace? The 8th palace is difficult. In the sky, Wang Lin was standing inside the golden light from the 7th palace and was very calm. In this palace he had used the thunder and 5-element true bodies. Only with 2 true bodies was he able to pass the 7th palace with an overwhelming advantage. The higher I go, the more difficult it becomes. I wonder how the 8th palace will be. Wang Lin looked up at the 8th palace and flew toward it. He was bent on going through the trial, and didn't care about the actions of others. He didn't know what kind of storm he had set off below. The 8th palace, he went to try the 8th palace. What an arrogant person. Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin failed at the 8th palace. This person, I can guess accurately. In the Celestial Clan, there are less than 150 people who can pass the 8th palace, and this is due to the accumulation of time. This palace is very difficult, and once someone passes it, all the Grand Empyreans will know. At this moment, almost all the cultivators present stood up. Going through the 5th, 6th, and 7th palaces was enough to cause a clamor. Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin stood up and no longer sat there as he stared at the 8th palace. He had tried the 8th palace many times, but failed each time. Now that someone else was attempting the 8th palace, he flew into the air to watch. The 8th palace. Can he pass it? These people thought the passage of time would be slow, but after just 3 breaths, golden light erupted from the 8th palace. The sudden burst of light startled everyone. Make yours. The golden light from the 8th palace hadn't shined in many years. However, right now, the golden light from the 8th palace fused with the light below and covered everyone inside the endless golden light. He passed the 8th palace. Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with shock. He had tried the 8th palace many times but always failed. However, now he had personally seen someone calmly pass it in just 3 breaths of time. The hundreds of Empyrean exalts shrouded by the golden light all forgot to think as they silently looked at Wang Lin in the sky. A loud voice came from Empyrean exalt Zhu Lin that awakened the hundreds of Empyrean exalts. Your Excellency, what is your name? Some knew Wang Lin's name, but most of them only knew him as white-haired Empyrean exalt. Wang Lin looked down below in the light of the 8th palace and calmly said, Wang Lin! After he spoke, his gaze suddenly looked up at the 9th palace that was somewhat blurry due to the clouds. Passing through the 9th palace meant the peak of Empyrean exalts. Passing through the 9th palace meant he could become famous across the entire Celestial Clan. Passing through the 9th palace meant he was infinitely close to becoming an ascendant Empyrean. Wang Lin's time at the immortal astral continent was not short. It had taken him hundreds of years to arrive at this point. He was no longer excited and was as calm as an ancient well. Under the gazes of all the Empyrean exalts below, Wang Lin flew toward the 9th palace that hadn't lit up for tens of thousands of years. At 36, Leo is still getting wisdom teeth, in pain for many days, with swollen jaws, frustrated, and they're not even breaking through yet. Counting them, there are 3 or 4 wisdom teeth not yet emerged. Southern Continent, Dao Yi sect. This sect was the #1 sect in the Southern Continent. It was even famous across the entire Celestial Clan. This was because a Grand Empyrean named Dao Yi was from this sect. In the back mountain, there was a waterfall where the sound of water falling could be heard. There was a pond next to the waterfall, and a young man in a Taoist robe was quietly sitting there. He held a willow branch in his hand, and was hanging it over the pool as if he was fishing. The moment Wang Lin passed through the 8th palace, the young man in the Taoist robe opened his eyes. He raised his head to look at the blue sky and white clouds. He was calm. Past the 8th palace, the young man in the Taoist robe smiled. He moved the willow in his hand and a ripple was set off in the pond. The scene of the Empyrean trial appeared. Most of the northern continent was covered in ice and snow year-round. The wind that caused the snow to dance howled like the cries of ghosts. This caused the hearts of most cultivators who came to the southern continent for the first time to tremble. There was a mountain range in the northernmost part of the northern continent. The mountain was a huge glacier that hadn't melted for tens of thousands of years. It was irregular, and looked like swords piercing into the sky. The ice shined brightly under the sun and gave off a cold intent. This place was the northern continent's Grand Empyrean Wufeng's cave. Under one of the glaciers sat a bald middle-aged man who was extremely tall. The sun refracted off the glacier, and there was an illusion in the refraction. It showed the scenes inside the Empyrean trial. The tall, bald cultivator was calm and looked at the figure rushing toward the 9th palace. His eyes gradually lit up. Once a cultivator passed through the 8th palace, the Grand Empyreans would know. At this moment, far away on Mount Emperor on the central continent, a beautiful woman was standing among the falling autumn leaves. One of the leaves was not moving and revealed the scenes of the Empyrean trial. Beside the beautiful woman sat an old man. The old man looked lazy, as if he had no energy. Even though he looked over, he had no spirit. It was as if what was happening inside the Empyrean trial couldn't attract his interest. The beautiful woman looked at the autumn leaf before her and softly said, "Teacher, if he passes the 9th palace, will you recruit him?" The old man beside her opened his eyes, and his gaze swept the autumn leaf. If teacher recruited everyone that passes through the 9th palace, wouldn't Mount Emperor become very noisy? The 9th palace is enough to attract the attention of Dao Yi and Wu Feng because they became Grand Empyreans later on and are eager to expand their power. Aside from cultivating the 6th Grand Empyrean, they also need to find someone to guard their reincarnation. But to teacher, passing the 9th palace is like the ants on the ground. So what if one ant is slightly larger than the others? Only if he could pass the palace like Ming Dao would teacher consider recruiting him, the old man slowly said. The beautiful woman silently pondered and bit her lower lip. She looked at the autumn leaf and didn't speak. Also in the central continent, in the imperial city, there was a rather luxurious palace. There was no one inside the palace, but there was a water curtain clearly revealing the scene of Wang Lin inside the Empyrean trial. Eastern continent, the #1 sect among the 9 sects and 13 factions. The Purple Yang sect. In the forbidden land of the Purple Yang sect, in a stone room, a middle-aged man was looking intently at a huge mirror that showed the scene inside the Empyrean trial. However, the golden light filled the mirror, and the figure was a blur. Beside the middle-aged man were 2 little girls, one wearing red and one wearing purple. Both were around 7 or 8-year-old girls. Both looked like little jade dolls and their eyes shined brightly. They both looked lovely. At this moment, the little girl wearing red held her chin in her hand while playing with her hair and looked at the mirror. But in truth, she was thinking about going out to play. She looked at the girl in purple and the two winked at each other. There was a cultivator beside the girl in purple. This cultivator had a bitter face and was crouched there with a chain around his neck. It looked like tears were about to flow out from his eyes. This came from years of depression, and he was in a sorry state. "Hey, little wolf, what kind of expression is that? Little wolf, be good, don't be disobedient." The girl in purple looked at the bitter-looking cultivator and raised her hand to pat his head. Every pat caused the cultivator to lower his head even more, and more tears built up in his eyes. 2 little ancestors. Don't always think of playing. Alas, look at this person. I have investigated this person. He also came from the eastern continent. Whether or not he can pass the 9th palace, he needs to be recruited. The middle-aged man was filled with bitterness as he spoke softly to the 2 little girls beside him. You deal with it as yourself. Hanan, you have to teach this disobedient little wolf. We should throw him into the 9-yin pool like the last time he was disobedient. After a few days, he became honest and even found a fun bell for us to play with. The little girl in red smiled at the middle-aged man, but walked next to the bitter-looking cultivator. She mercilessly patted the cultivator's head with the girl in purple. The middle-aged man watched this dumbfoundedly and smiled bitterly. He got up and bowed at the two little girls that were playing around, his expression very serious. Grand Empyrean Gemini. The two little girls were still patting the head of the cultivator named Little Wolf. The cultivator's tears finally began to flow. Ah, wah, wah, is he crying? He's faking it. This little wolf is being disobedient. He must be faking it. The middle-aged man felt like he was going to become crazy and roared at the two little girls, Grand Empyrean Gemini. His voice was like thunder and the world trembled. The two little girls finally turned and looked at him. Little Guya, are you also being disobedient? The little girl named Wawa frowned and looked at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man ignored her as he took a deep breath and said with a serious tone, Grand Empyrean Gemini, this person needs to be recruited. Then go recruit him. You can go, bring him back, and let us see him. The little girl named Han Han waved her hand and grabbed the cultivator named Little Wolf. Then she disappeared into the stone chamber with the other little girl. The middle-aged man was left there. He mercilessly grabbed his own hair and smiled bitterly. As the golden light from the 8th palace shined in the Empyrean trial, Wang Lin flew toward the 9th palace under the gazes of all the cultivators below. After a moment, he stepped inside without hesitation. The moment he entered, all the cultivators held their breaths and stared at the 9th palace. The 7th palace has 63 planets, but the 8th palace has 81 planets. The 9th palace is considered the peak of Empyrean Exalt, and therefore likely contains 99 planets. Wang Lin stepped into the 9th palace and stared at the star system before him. In the star system, 99 planets suddenly changed trajectories and flew toward Wang Lin. 9 of them released a bright, golden glow. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he didn't hesitate to use not only his 5-element true body and thunder essence true body, but also his 3 ethereal essences. He could fuse up to 23 spells into his body, so with the help of his true bodies and essences, the total now was 92 spells. This was Wang Lin's limit before wearing the soul armor. Just one punch or finger contained 92 spells. This made him infinitely close to an Ascendant Empyrean. He raised his right hand, and his eyes shined brightly. A sharp pain came from his right arm as it turned into the yin blade, and he chopped down on the 99 planets in the simplest way possible. This chop created 92 blade shadows, and they fused into one before sweeping across the star system. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and 92 of the 99 planets suddenly exploded. Before they completely collapsed, 2 shadows overlapped with Wang Lin's body, and then his 5-element true body and thunder essence true body walked out. They flew toward the remaining 7 golden planets. The 5-element true body flickered and turned into the water essence true body, fire essence true body, and the earth essence true body. Each of them charged toward a planet. Not far away, Wang Lin's thunder essence true body released a powerful roar that shrouded the remaining 4 planets. Destructive thunder descended on the 4 planets, and then they collapsed. Although there was a gap between the destruction of the 99 planets, Wang Lin had done his best to reduce that gap greatly. From afar, it looked like the 99 planets had exploded at the same time. The moment they exploded, a golden light spread out like a golden wave. Before the gazes of many people, the 9th palace that had not shined for many years erupted with golden light to the shock and disbelief of the cultivators below. He has passed the 9th palace. After today, Wang Lin's name will definitely shock the 5 major continents. The 9th palace, the 9th palace. Passing the 9th palace means the peak of Empyrean Exalt, and only one step away from Ascendant Empyrean. Could it be that today I will see the birth of the T8 Ascendant Empyrean? I fear that all the Grand Empyreans are watching this place. The cultivators below all gasped. Empyrean Exalt Zhu Lin bitterly lowered his head. Fellow cultivator Wang Lin, congratulations on passing the 9th palace. It was unknown who started it, but all the cultivators below clasped their hands at the sky. Leo has caught a cold, his nose running like a leaky faucet, making it unlikely he'll make it home tomorrow. Trying hard to ensure a new update, but lacking the energy, longing for the like button for the video. I knew that this child was extraordinary. In less than 100 years he even passed through the 9th palace. He is worthy of being recruited. Forget it, although he refused once. This time I'll go with one of my avatars, and he will know how much importance I attach to this. Sitting under the waterfall, the smile on Dao Yi's face became even wider. In the glacier in the northern continent, Grand Empyrean Wu Feng looked at the glacier and closed his eyes. This child passed the test in the mountain sea and broke through the 9th palace. His battle power is similar to an ascendant Empyrean Dao Yi saw him, but Dao Yi is arrogant and prideful. Although he won T-Go with his divine sense, at most he will send an avatar this time. I'll personally go with my original body. This child should be able to tell who attaches more importance to him. On Mount Emperor, the beautiful woman revealed a happy smile. It was as if she was even happier than Wang Lin when he broke through the 9th palace. However, the old man beside her glanced at the autumn leaf and still didn't care. The old man shook his head and said, "It is only the 9th palace peak of Empyrean Exalt. After breaking through the TH palace he will be an Ascendant Empyrean, but the TH palace is only the bottom of Ascendant Empyrean. He is far from Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao." The beautiful woman turned around and said, "Teacher." The old man stopped and bitterly said, "If he can pass the TX palace, I'll go ask if he is willing to join me." The first 9 palaces in the Empyrean trial are for Empyrean Exalts. The TX palace is the boundary between Empyrean Exalt and Ascendant Empyrean. From the TH palace onward, aside from cultivation level and combat power, one needs understanding and enlightenment of Dao. In the Empyrean trial, the word trial is the key for the last 9 palaces. Every palace will give you a fortune, and this Wang Lin, the old man, looked at his disciple and stopped speaking. Empyrean Exalt High Z was filled with excitement. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes as her divine sense shot into the sky. In the imperial city of the central continent, there was an empty, luxurious palace. As the scene of Wang Lin passing the 9th palace appeared, a cold laughter echoed through the palace. "Is this the person Dao Fei can forget? I have underestimated him." Eastern continent, Purple Yang sect. The middle-aged man was looking at the mirror before him alone. He completely ignored the miserable screams coming from outside, and his eyes were bright. "I must recruit him. Last time Grand Empyrean reincarnated, she separated. After many years, due to the lack of prestige, many of the Empyrean Exalts and Ascendant Empyreans left right now. The Grand Empyrean is about to reincarnate again. If this person can be recruited, he can be a powerful guardian." At the same time, in the Empyrean trial, after Wang Lin passed through the 9th palace, everyone below bowed at him. Nearly 100 Empyrean Exalts quickly left and returned to their bodies. They quickly used their connections and informed the Empyrean Exalts they knew about what had happened. After all, someone passing through the 9th palace was extremely important within the Celestial clan. It could be considered a holy event. Shortly after, even more Empyrean Exalts rushed to the Empyrean trial from all over the Celestial clan. Wang Lin walked out as the 9th palace shined. He sat in the air and didn't continue to the TH palace, but he also didn't give up. The entire Empyrean trial was filled with golden light. All the Empyrean Exalts that had heard the news arrived in the transfer array and immediately saw the golden light. They looked up to see the 9th palace releasing endless golden light and the figure sitting inside the light. Their expressions were all serious, containing a hint of expectation. At this moment, none of the Empyrean Exalts here had any mocking intent, and any thoughts of disdain were crushed. They respected the strong, and anyone who could pass the 9th palace was at the peak of Empyrean Exalts. Time slowly passed and even more Empyrean Exalts arrived here. Rays of light arrived at the transfer array, and it seemed like it would never stop. Soon there were nearly 700 Empyrean Exalts present, almost 70% of all Empyrean Exalts in the Celestial clan. There were still Empyrean Exalts rushing here after receiving the news. This matter has caused a great stir. Even more people are coming to the Empyrean trial. Once he passes the TH palace, he will become an Ascendant Empyrean. But this TH palace is more difficult than the previous 9 combined. Otherwise, the TH Ascendant Empyrean wouldn't have taken tens of thousands of years to appear. I think there will be some difficulties. Although very few people have passed the 9th palace, there were still some. Which one of them is not famous, or at least caused a stir? Many people had high expectations, but they failed at the TH palace in the end. This time, it will likely be the same. More than 700 Empyrean Exalts were scattered across the Empyrean trial. They were all talking to each other, some inquiring about Wang Lin's name and what happened before. Among the more than 700 Empyrean Exalts, there was a group that was very calm and very different from the others. Even when they were just standing there, the other Empyrean exalts were extremely polite to them. There were less than a few dozen people in this group. They were all people who had passed the 9th palace, but were stopped at the TA palace. They had all come to see if Wang Lin could take the step they all dreamed of. Brother Zhao, do you think this person can pass the TH palace? Difficult. Both of us have tried the TH floor. If he had the confidence to attempt the TH floor, he wouldn't be cultivating there. Another half an incense stick of time passed and now nearly 800 Empyrean exalts were here. More than half of the Empyrean exalts had dropped everything they were doing and rushed here with their divine senses to witness this important event. Among the crowd there was a very beautiful woman. She was Empyrean Exalt Haizi. She didn't want to watch through the autumn leaf on Mount Emperor, so had come here personally. She looked up at the golden light in the sky and smiled. This fellow, after leaving the mountain sea, he disappeared for more than 10 years. I didn't expect him to be so amazing after reappearing. Just as almost 800 Empyrean exalts waited for Wang Lin to attempt the TH palace, the transfer array flashed constantly. A middle-aged man in white walked out. He looked cold and didn't even look at the crowd. He leaped into the air and looked at Wang Lin. Ascendant Empyrean Snow Rain. Even Ascendant Empyreans came here. Not only Ascendant Snow Rain, look, that Ascendant Empyrean Tao Wheel. The appearance of Ascendant Empyreans attracted the attention of all the Empyrean exalts here. This person was an old man. He was frowning as he flew into the air. He looked at the middle-aged man and they nodded to each other. Then both looked up at Wang Lin in the sky. Ascendant Empyrean Meng Shuang. That is Ascendant Empyrean Tiny Child. He has the appearance of a child year-round, so that must be him. Rumors say that he passed the T8 palace. Divine sense messages were being silently passed between the 800 or so Empyrean exalts here. A total of 4 Ascendant Empyreans had appeared in the ancient transfer array. They did not talk to each other. They just immediately looked up at the sky. Just at this moment, the surroundings suddenly became quiet because Wang Lin, who was sitting in the golden light of the 9th palace, suddenly stood up. His actions attracted everyone's attention. Wang Lin looked at the large amount of people and frowned, but he soon relaxed. His goal was to become famous, so the more people, the better the effect. There were 4 people that caught Wang Lin's attention below, the 4 Ascendant Empyreans. When Wang Lin looked at them, they also looked back. They were very calm and showed no emotions. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and looked up at the TH place. He took a step and quickly flew toward the TH palace and disappeared. He is attempting the TH palace. The TH palace can be described as the Dragon-S gate. Once he passes through, he will be the T8 Ascendant Empyrean in my celestial clan. All the cultivators below stared intently and were afraid of missing anything. At this moment on the immortal astral continent, Dao Yi, Wu Feng, and the powerful existence inside the imperial city looked at their own displays of the Empyrean trial as Wang Lin walked toward the 10th palace. In the purple yang sect, the middle-aged man took a deep breath and didn't even blink once. Can he pass? This was the thought that appeared in almost everyone's minds. Time passed. It had been 8 breaths since Wang Lin entered the TH palace. 9th breath, 10th breath. All the gazes gathered on the fuzzy palace. This palace had not released golden light in tens of thousands of years. However, every time it released golden light in the past, it meant there was one more Ascendant Empyrean in the Celestial Clan. The Celestial Clan only had 48 Ascendant Empyreans. Once another appeared, it would be a joyous event for the entire Celestial Clan. Even the ancient clan would know of their name. This kind of cultivator was enough to cause a commotion across the entire immortal astral continent. The 11th breath, 12th breath, 13th breath, until the 20th breath. Must have failed some of the Empyrean exalts below immediately signed. But just at this moment, cries of shock echoed in the silent Empyrean trial, until it became a monstrous wave. Golden light. That S golden light. The TH Palace S golden light. It has been tens of thousands of years, and now golden light has come from the TH Palace once more. He passed. After 20 breaths, the fuzzy palace covered by the clouds released a startling golden light before everyone's gazes. The expressions of the 4 Ascendant Empyreans immediately became serious. Leo has a cold, with a sore throat and a bit of dizziness, not daring to promise that there will be a 3rd watch today, doing his utmost to get through. Chapter 195, Doubts about the Dead Sea. The moment the five-colored barrier broke, the rubble of the stone pillar started to glow bright red. There were no more soul fragments around the red-haired man. The seal on his soul was gone. It could be said that the him now had temporarily broken the seal. His eyes emitted a demonic gaze. He quickly raised his hand and swiped it downwards. Suddenly, a giant rift appeared above him. The rift was very large, and layers of gray fog spilled out of it. Wang Lin was very familiar with the gray fog. He immediately recognized it as the fog that was outside the Dead Soul Sea. Meanwhile, within the red dust, countless red lights appeared. The specks of dust assembled into soul fragments and charged toward the red-haired man. If those soul fragments were to land, then everything that had happened would have been a waste. The red-haired man's eyes became cold. He would not allow those soul fragments to seal him again. After tearing open the rift, he stretched out his right hand and lowly growled, "Tu Si is long dead. Using my name, Ta Sen, I call upon my life-saving weapon, the Star Destroyer Spear." The moment he finished uttering those words, a long spear that looked like a black dragon suddenly burst out from the gray fog and appeared before him. The spear paused for a moment, but quickly landed in the red-haired man's hand. The moment the red-haired man gripped the spear, a thunderous roar echoed through the surrounding area. Shortly after, the pillar that he was standing on collapsed and became a small pile of rubble. The red-haired man still floated in the air. His eyes were filled with pride. As for the soul fragments, it seemed he didn't care about them at all. He waved the spear and all the soul fragments paused in midair. They floated 10 feet away from him. Meanwhile, the red-haired man moved his body and charged toward the rift. At the same time, everyone in Dumu's group, especially the old man who made the deal with Wang Lin, revealed nervous expressions. Without a word, they quickly stood up and followed Ta Sen into the rift. As they passed Wang Lin, the old man looked at Wang Lin and slightly nodded. Wang Lin's soul went back into his body and moved into the rift. The remaining surviving demonic cultivators all followed them into the rift without hesitation. After entering the rift, Wang Lin immediately realized that they were just outside the Soul Sea. Right below them was the Dead Soul Sea that Wang Lin had tried to break into before. The Soul Sea was split into two. One half was the Blood Sea and the other was the Dead Soul Sea. A thought flashed through Wang Lin's mind. From the moment he entered the rift, he had been very careful. He discreetly looked around and saw that Dumu's group had positioned themselves in such a way that they surrounded him and a red-haired man. This position was very intricate. If one didn't look carefully, then they couldn't see any sign of it. But Wang Lin had been through much and was able to see it at a glance. Wang Lin's expression remained normal. He sneered in his heart. He was very suspicious of Dumu's group. Throughout all those years, had they really never shown any signs or allowed Ta Sen to realize that they had always been plotting against him? It was a bit suspicious that people who had been secretly plotting for who knows how many years to be this blatant in front of Ta Sen. But even if Ta Sen were to realize it, it didn't have anything to do with Wang Lin at all. He just wanted to be present during the moment the Dead Soul Sea was opened so he could enter it and use his part of inheritance of knowledge to leave this suffocating place. The red-haired man stood above the Dead Soul Sea and started laughing madly. He shouted, "Tu Si, you couldn't keep me trapped. Even though I was only a sliver of your evil consciousness, this inheritance should have been mine." As he was speaking, his face turned grim and the spear in his hand struck down. Suddenly, the wall of fog that surrounded the Dead Soul Sea caved in, and a tunnel going deep in the direction of the Dead Soul Sea appeared soon after. The fog in the surrounding area was quickly pushed out of the way. The tunnel was deep, the bottom could not be seen. A muffled roar could be heard, as if there was something roaring inside the tunnel. "Tu Si, even your life-saving weapon, the Star Destroyer Spear, has submitted to me. Only I have the qualifications to succeed your inheritance," Ta Sen said, as the spear in his hand struck out again. This time, it was a vertical slash. It created a cross with the previous slash, forming a giant cross. In the center of the cross was a hole dozens of feet wide. Ta Sen entered it. After the red-haired man went in, Dumu's group became more nervous, but they quickly followed behind. As for Wang Lin, his eyes lit up and followed them in as well. Meanwhile, all the surviving demonic cultivators revealed excited expressions and shouted with joy. The red-haired man was in the front. He turned around and looked behind him. His lips curled into a cold smile. Soon, he arrived at the bottom of the gray fog. The path was blocked by a layer of clouds. Purple lightning flashed constantly in the clouds. The red-haired man didn't say a word. He tossed the spear forward. It transformed into a black dragon. It charged into the clouds right as a bolt of purple lightning landed on it. The red-haired man didn't pause for a moment. He quickly followed the spear into the clouds. Suddenly, countless bolts of purple lightning shot out of the clouds and landed on his body. Under the bombardment of the purple lightning, a lightning sphere formed around Ta Sin's body, but he was not harmed. He started to laugh. Wang Lin's pupils contracted as he stared at the red-haired man. He remembered that the purple lightning that appeared at the Second Realm's Restriction Mountain was the same purple lightning as this. Wang Lin blinked and slowed down. From somewhere behind him, he heard the old man's voice asking, "Little friend, how come you were not moving forward?" Wang Lin didn't turn his head. From the moment they left the Blood Sea, the 10 old cultivators had been keeping their eyes on him, preventing him from backing out. He had only slowed down a bit, but the old man was already questioning him. From this, Wang Lin could tell how important this was to them. Wang Lin didn't know why they had so much confidence that they could even ignore Ta Sin's existence. But he had already made up his mind. Leaving this place was his main goal. Within the lightning ball, the red-haired man formed a strange hand sign and said, "Tu Si is long dead. I use my name, Ta Sin, to call upon my family's lightning weapon, the purple moon." The moment those words left his lips, the technique in his hand shot out and entered the clouds. Soon after, the clouds began to shrink. The raging purple lightning slowly died down. Eventually, the cloud turned into a half-moon blade and fell into the red-haired man's hand. After he looked at it, he opened his mouth. The half-moon blade shrank and entered his mouth. Under the gray fog were the clouds of purple lightning, and under the clouds of purple lightning was a completely black sea. This was the dead soul formed by half of ancient god Tu Si's soul when he died. The red-haired man looked at the half-moon blade. His face revealed an excited expression. Then he charged toward the dead sea under his feet. Yep, he looked at it while it was in his mouth, according to the author. The moment he rushed forward, a roar came from the dead sea. Soon after, a non-dragon but dragon-like creature suddenly bursted out from the dead sea. As it moved, it created countless waves in the dead sea. Shortly after, the creature's large head came out from the sea and stared at the red-haired man. Ta Sin looked at the creature and frowned. He shouted, "Evil creature, you can even recognize me?" The creature, that was millions of feet long, slowly moved, causing the waves in the sea to roll violently. It stared at Ta Sin and suddenly spoke human words. "Ta Sin, you are an evil consciousness that formed when the master was practicing the flowing ink transformation divine technique. How could I forget about you? If it wasn't for you revolting when the master was at the most critical point of his cultivation, the master wouldn't have died." Ta Sin coldly snorted and grimly said, "What does this have to do with me? Tu Si's ambition was too big, trying to master a divine technique that no one could master. If it wasn't for that, how could he have created me? The moment he separated me from his soul, he abandoned me, but I have to thank him otherwise. The moment he died would have been the moment I perished as well." The large creature's eyes became cold and said, "Before Master's death, he told me to guard the inheritance of knowledge. Without my permission, no one can get the inheritance. The inheritance of power is already mine, and the only thing left is the inheritance of knowledge. Tu Si's memories are useless to me. Everything he knew, I know as well. If it wasn't for the restrictions placed by the law of inheritance that requires both inheritances to fully control the power in this body, I wouldn't even have bothered with all this. And I wouldn't have gotten trapped by him in the Blood Sea for so many years," the red-haired man said as he struck forward with the spear. Suddenly, a dark cyclone appeared. The cyclone grew larger and larger until the wind was roaring. It charged at the creature. Seeing the scene before him, Wang Lin couldn't help but form a doubt in his heart. If what this creature said was true, and he was guarding the inheritance of knowledge, then when Sky Devil Magician opened the portal to the inheritance treasure before, why was there no danger? And even after part of it was taken, why was there no sign of this creature? Wang Lin looked down at the Dead Sea and his doubts increased. He frowned. He quietly activated the ancient god tactic in his mind. According to the inherited memory, anyone with the inheritance only had to activate their inheritance in the Dead Soul Sea to leave. The large creature coldly stared at the red-haired man. It didn't even care about the cyclone roaring towards it. The moment before it landed, the creature whipped its head out and hit the cyclone. Leo goes to the hospital with his wife, then directly to pick up his daughter from school, continuing the storytelling upon return. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. In the blurry sky of the Empyrean trial, the palace that hadn't shined for tens of thousands of years erupted with bright golden light. The golden light spread out and filled the eyes of all the cultivators below. As the golden light spread out, a giant figure seemed to appear. This figure wasn't Wang Lin, but a shadow filled with endless majesty. This shadow was very large, like a giant standing in the world. It appeared from the golden light from the palace and soon became more solid. In a flash, this shadow became clear. He was very handsome, and aside from an ancient aura, he exuded a force that made all celestials worship him. He wore a golden robe, and there was even an emperor crown on his head. It looks like he was looking down upon the world. The moment this figure appeared, the hearts of the 800 Empyrean exalts and 4 ascendant Empyreans all trembled. It is the shadow the celestial ancestor left here at the Empyrean trial. It is said this shadow separated from the celestial ancestor. Even if the celestial ancestor dies, it will still exist after being fused with the Empyrean trial. The palace is the line between Empyrean exalts and ascendant Empyreans. Rumor has it that each ascendant Empyrean is personally titled by the celestial ancestor. I didn't expect it to be true. He has passed through the palace, and the celestial ancestor's shadow has appeared. This Wang Lin had passed the Dragon's Gate and from now on is no longer the same rank as US Empyrean exalts. I got to personally see someone become an ascendant Empyrean, and the celestial ancestor personally titled them. This trip to the Empyrean trial was not a waste of time. When the giant golden figure appeared, all the cultivators below became very respectfully and all of them bowed. No one forced any of them to bow, but it was something all the cultivators did out of respect. We descendants of the celestial ancestor greet ancestor. The voice of all the cultivators echoed in the Empyrean trial. Just as all the cultivators below bowed, a figure flew out from the shining golden palace. This figure was Wang Lin. This scene seemed to become eternal in the eyes of all the cultivators below. In the sky, a large and a small golden figure less than 1,000 feet away from one another were looking at each other. Wang Lin's face was slightly pale. When he appeared, he immediately saw the giant golden figure before him. When he saw the figure, his heart trembled. This was the celestial ancestor he had seen twice before. His pair of golden eyes were filled with endless majesty, and his gaze landed on Wang Lin. This gaze was filled with an indescribable power, and seemed like it was going to completely see through Wang Lin's every secret. Wang Lin's heart trembled. He felt naked under this gaze. He also felt like all his secrets were revealed before this gaze. Wang Lin didn't expect this at all. Not even his teacher, Xuan Luo, had expected Wang Lin to arrive at this point in the celestial clan. As a result, Wang Lin had made no preparations, so all his secrets were going to be revealed. A giant hand appeared in Wang Lin's mind and quickly flipped through his memories. There was no way to hide anything. It began searching his memories from his birth. The entire celestial clan only had 48 ascendant Empyreans. For the celestial clan, ascendant Empyreans were very important, second only to the grand Empyreans. Even the celestial ancestor would have paid attention to these cultivators. Back then, he had already considered that members of the ancient clan or foreign cultivators would change their aura to come here and even obtain the title of ascendant Empyrean. How could the celestial ancestor allow this? Being an Empyrean exalt was fine, but ascendant Empyreans had to be immortal astral continent cultivators. They had to have been born and raised on the immortal astral without any problem. This was also the reason behind the saying that one must pass the palace in the Empyrean trial to become an ascendant Empyrean. Every Empyrean exalt that had turned into an ascendant Empyrean had experienced this. All 48 of the current ascendant Empyrean had gone through this. This was a test, and if the shadow judged Wang Lin as a foreign or ancient cultivator, the news would immediately spread across the celestial clan. Forget Wang Lin, not even a grand Empyrean could escape. The celestial ancestor's shadow wouldn't attack, but once his secrets were found out, the Ascendant Empyreans or even Grand Empyreans would attack. Under the gaze of the celestial ancestor's shadow, Wang Lin's memories from his childhood were being observed. The heaven-defying bead that had fused with his soul appeared once more and slowly rotated. A gentle light was released and surrounded Wang Lin, and the bead created false memories for the celestial ancestor's shadow to watch. No one knew what the celestial ancestor's shadow had seen, but soon, the gaze on Wang Lin became gentle. After a long time, as all the cultivators below watched, the shadow of the celestial ancestor waved his left hand. A scroll appeared out of nowhere and opened like a holy edict. There were 48 names on that scroll. Each name shined brightly, and there was pressure coming from the names. Ascendant Empyrean List. This is the legendary Ascendant Empyrean List. Rumor has it that every single Ascendant Empyrean is personally appointed by the celestial ancestor and has their name added to the list. This list only appears when someone successfully passes the TAEH Palace. It's the Ascendant Empyrean List. Everyone on the list receives the celestial ancestor's protection. They are the glory of the celestial clan. Aside from those 4 Ascendant Empyreans, everyone else gasped, and their eyes were filled with desire. They all wanted their names on the list, but even though they were Empyrean exalts, this wasn't possible. This list was only for Ascendant Empyreans. The celestial ancestor's shadow raised his left hand, and a brush seemed to appear. The brush moved and wrote down a line of celestial characters. Number 49, Wang Lin. After finishing the last stroke, the celestial ancestor's shadow dissipated into a golden light that lit up the entire Empyrean trial. Even after the celestial ancestor's shadow completely disappeared, everyone was still silent. A moment later, they all bowed. Greetings, Ascendant Empyrean. This included Empyrean Exalt Julin and all those that doubted Wang Lin could pass the 9th and 10th palaces. Within the crowd, there was an extremely beautiful woman. She suddenly felt like the distance between them was too large now. One was in the sky, and one was on the earth. Very far, very far. This sudden change made her feel an unspeakable sense of melancholy. Wang Lin silently pondered in the sky with his eyes closed. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes again. He had just experienced life and death at that moment. He didn't expect the Empyrean trial to have such an implication. The heaven-defying bead appeared once more by itself, and saved me. This thing has its own spirit. But what is it? Where did it come from? It was able to fool the celestial ancestor's shadow. The TH Palace had 99 golden planets. No wonder so few people have passed it. Even I had to use the heavenly bull soul armor for an instant to pass. While Wang Lin was pondering, 3 people flew into the sky and stopped beside him. It was the 3 Ascendant Empyreans, Snow Rain, Dao Wheel, and Meng Dao. As for Ascendant Empyrean Tiny Child, he calmly remained below. He looked at Wang Lin but didn't say a word. Congratulations, fellow cultivator Wang. Haha, now my celestial clan has one more Ascendant Empyrean. It won't take long for every Ascendant Empyrean in the celestial clan to know. Fellow cultivator Wang has become famous in an instant. If there is a chance to meet in the northern continent, we have to debate Dao. Fellow cultivator Wang, after entering the Ascendant Empyrean stage, I fear you will face the recruitment of the Grand Empyreans. My name is Rain Snow and I am under Grand Empyrean Wu Feng. I wonder has fellow cultivator have decided on where to go? The 3 of them smiled and clasped their hands at Wang Lin. Wang Lin smiled back and clasped his hand back in response. As for the choice of which Grand Empyrean to go with, I haven't made up my mind yet, and I haven't decided to leave yet. After Wang Lin spoke, he looked up at the TH Palace that was completely covered by the clouds. Him looking up immediately caused the expressions of those 3 to become serious. Could fellow cultivator Wang want to try the TH Palace? I do. Wang Lin nodded and smiled. All the 3 had different expressions, and after looking at Wang Lin, Ascendant Empyrean Snow Rain hesitated before speaking. The 3 of us haven't passed the T-Alice. Since fellow cultivator Wang wants to try, I have some experience that might help you. The difficulty of the palaces past the 10th is far higher than the first 9 for Empyrean exalts. And once you fail, it is not without danger. You will be injured, although it's not serious. You still have to be careful. In addition, above the TH Palace, it is difficult to pass with a short period of cultivation. This is why Ascendant Empyreans rarely come here. Unless we are 80% confident, we won't casually try. As far as I know, among the 49 Ascendant Empyreans, including fellow cultivator Wang, 27 people stopped at the Palace. Aside from those 27 people, 13 people stopped at the Palace. Fellow cultivator Tiny Child below is rumored to have passed the Palace, but in truth was stopped at the Palace. Leo steps out without his laptop charger. The computer has no power, so he reads the chapters using his phone, typing manually. Tears are flowing. There are 7 people that stopped at the Palace. Aside from these 47 Ascendant Empyreans, there are 2 more who are considered the strongest Ascendant Empyreans. The first is Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei, who stopped at the Palace. The other is Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, who stopped at the Palace. From the Palace onward, every palace is very difficult. It is no longer simple like breaking the planets in the first 10 palaces, but doing battle against the 72 foreign beasts the celestial ancestor faced. Among the 72 foreign beasts, there are strong and weak ones. Although their presence in the Empyrean trial is only an illusion and they are greatly weakened, they are after all beasts that battled the celestial ancestor. If you can beat the 72 foreign beasts and walk the path the celestial ancestor walked, then by the time you pass the Palace, you will naturally have the strength that not even a Grand Empyrean would act casually against. And from the Palace onward there are great fortunes, but not everyone can obtain them. There are those that have passed the Palace, but obtained nothing. As for the specifics, I don't know, but I know that someone has obtained a spell from the celestial ancestor in the Palace. But only one Ascendant Empyrean has passed the Palace, and then became a Grand Empyrean. Aside from him, no one has passed the Palace. Even the current Grand Empyreans can Even the current Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and Grand Empyrean 8 Extreme were only Empyrean Exalts back then. Only with a stroke of luck did someone become a Grand Empyrean through the immemorial God realm, and the other though inheriting the celestial ancestor's bloodline. Grand Empyrean Gemini and Grand Empyrean Judy are rumored to be from the same generation, and they were under the celestial ancestor. As for whether this is true or not, I don't know. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng was also an Ascendant Empyrean, but he only passed the Palace and couldn't compare to the current Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. I chose to follow him precisely because of this. After all, us Ascendant Empyreans have our own pride. Even if one becomes a Grand Empyrean through luck, if we aren't willing, we won't follow them. Ascendant Empyrean Snow Rain slowly said to Wang Lin, which Grand Empyrean was the only one to reach the Palace as an Ascendant Empyrean? Wang Lin had never heard of any of this, and his expression became serious. The Donglin sect's Grand Empyrean Donglin. Before he fell, he was the #1 Grand Empyrean in my celestial clan. Even Grand Empyrean Judy dreaded him. He was the only one who completely relied on his own strength to become a Grand Empyrean. But it was obvious Grand Empyrean Donglin was someone who Snow Rain respected a lot. When he talked about Grand Empyrean Donglin, his expression was a bit crestfallen. Wang Lin silently pondered, and he recalled the lonely old man in the Donglin sect who was relying on a dream to accompany him. Grand Empyrean Donglin's descendant. Wang Lin took a deep breath and clasped his hands at Snow Rain and company. Many thanks. He moved very fast as he pierced through the clouds and arrived at the Palace. He looked up at the Palace and then charged up without hesitation. Under the gaze of Snow Rain's group of 3, under the gazes of all the cultivators below, and as the eyes of the cold-looking Ascendant Empyrean Tiny Child lit up, Wang Lin pierced into the clouds toward the Palace. The Palace was the goal and desire of all the Empyrean Exalts here. Whether they passed or not, it was a symbol of strength and power. The Palace was different from the 10 below. It was larger, and even the pressure it gave off was stronger. It was completely black and gave off a cold aura. Including those 9, only 22 people have passed the Palace. One move will make me famous. Passing the Palace is not enough. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he entered the Palace without hesitation. When he entered the Palace, all the Empyrean Exalts below gasped and their faces filled with fear and excitement. These kinds of expressions should normally not appear on them. After all, any one of them could cause the world outside to tremble. However, at this moment, they were filled with fear and excitement due to Wang Lin's crazy action. I thought he would stop after the TH Palace, but he is going to continue. How many palaces is he going to pass? How many can he pass? He's gone mad. Unless this Wang Lin has enough confidence, or he is blinded by the glory of becoming an ascendant Empyrean. Passing multiple palaces at once like this is extremely rare. Snow Rain's group of 3 also looked over. They were not optimistic about Wang Lin's chances. They thought Wang Lin had a 90% chance of failing. After all, they had tried the TH Palace, but failed. More than half the ascendant Empyreans were stuck here. They didn't believe Wang Lin, who had just become an ascendant Empyrean, had the strength. He has some momentum, but the TH Palace is not so easy. Back when I passed the TH Palace, I attempted the TH Palace as well, but failed. It wasn't until many years later that I successfully passed the TH Palace. Among the more than 40 ascendant Empyreans, only ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei and ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao continued. Kai Wei stopped at the 12th and Ming Dao stopped at the 13th. The reason the 2 of them have the fame they do now and are considered the strongest ascendant Empyreans is largely because of this. It is impossible for this person. The childlike ascendant Empyrean looked calm, but he sneered in his heart. At this moment, the cultivators here were not the only ones observing this place. Aside from the Grand Empyreans, even more ascendant Empyreans were using different methods to observe the Empyrean trial. They had found out that there was a TH ascendant Empyrean, and he hadn't left, but was instead going to try the TH Palace. In the Dao Yi sect, Grand Empyrean Dao Yi seemed to have forgotten everything, and was focused on the pool before him. He looked calm, but a strange light shined from his fists. This child, I must recruit him to work under me. There was also Grand Empyrean Wu Feng inside the glacier in the northern continent. He stared at the glacier, his eyes filled with determination. As for the middle-aged man inside the Purple Yang sect, who could occasionally hear miserable screams from outside, he was very excited. He stared at the mirror and muttered to himself, if he can be recruited under Grand Empyrean Gemini, he will definitely be a great help to the Grand Empyrean. Central Continent, Mount Emperor. Grand Empyrean Judi was lazily sitting under the sun like an old man unwilling to move. When Wang Lin passed the TH Palace, he opened his eyes. He passed. Even though he passed the TH Palace, he is just a bigger ant can be compared to Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei, and definitely can compared to Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. What did the Celestial Emperor promise him to recruit Ming Dao? The old man sighed, and still felt pity that he couldn't recruit Ming Dao back then. In the empty palace in the Imperial Palace, a voice muttered, Ming Dao, what do you think? As the voice echoed, ripples spread out inside the palace, and a person walked out. This person was a young man in black who had a cold expression. He looked at the illusion in the empty palace. I only need one breath to kill him. At this moment, Wang Lin stepped into the TH Palace. His vision became blurry, and he appeared in a star system again. However, this star system had no planets but was covered in fog. The fog was very dense. It seemed impossible to split apart and surrounded the area. What is Dao? A majestic voice rang out in the star system and set off countless echoes. The voice echoed in Wang Lin's heart and ears. What is Dao? What is Dao? That voice was even more intense now. It seemed to be muttering and also roaring. It caused Wang Lin's body to tremble, and he even felt his soul was going to collapse. Wang Lin's face turned slightly pale, but his eyes shined brightly. His understanding of Dao had formed 3 ethereal essences. His enlightenment in Dao was far superior to that of most people on the immortal astral continent. Even some Empyrean exalts and ascendant Empyreans couldn't compare to Wang Lin. This enlightenment of Dao was something other-siders couldn't see at all. It was an evolution of one's own thought process. Wang Lin slowly said, life and death are the restraints. This is Dao. The moment he opened his mouth, his comprehension of his life and death Dao appeared around him. At this moment, the sound disappeared and chains appeared around him. The chains began to spread, pushing away the fog, revealing the bright star system. There was a figure wearing a golden robe and a crown before him. There was a giant scorpion before the shadow. This scorpion was hundreds of thousands of feet large, and it gave off a chilly aura as it roared. Wang Lin's vision became a blur. When he regained his vision, he seemed to replace the golden figure and was battling the scorpion. Green Devil Scorpion. At this moment, Wang Lin didn't hesitate to put on the soul armor. Time slowly passed. This was different from passing one palace in several breaths. It had been half an incense stick of time since Wang Lin entered. The place was completely silent as they waited, watching the palace in the sky. Attempting the Palace is good. Once he fails, he will understand that the Empyrean trial is not something he can attempt in a craze. Ascendant Empyrean Snow Rain still sighed in his heart. Even now he didn't believe Wang Lin could pass. Does he think he is Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei or Ming Dao? I struggled a lot to barely pass through the Taas. Battling against the foreign souls is very difficult. He definitely can pass. Ascendant Empyrean Tiny Child had just sneered in his heart when his body suddenly trembled and his eyes overflowed with disbelief. A burst of golden light erupted from the Palace that was surrounded by clouds. Impossible! Ascendant Empyrean Tiny Child's eyes widened. Leo's speech is often puzzling, what with all the wishing for likes on the video and sharing Leo's work, leading the audience to erupt in laughter, the comment section filled with a lively atmosphere. In the Empyrean trial, as the golden light spread out from the Palace, Wang Lin stepped out. His face was pale, and he immediately sat down inside the golden light. Everything that happened inside the Palace replayed in his mind. The Green Devil Scorpion was the first spirit to appear, and after that, 8 more foreign souls appeared with no break in between. If not for the fact that Wang Lin had put on the soul armor right away, it would have been difficult to pass the Palace. In particular, the last soul, a giant elephant the size of a planet, had great strength. Wang Lin could feel that the 9 foreign souls were all illusions that couldn't match their original bodies but were still extremely powerful. Every one of them was at peak Empyrean Exalt level, and the last 4 were strong enough to battle ordinary Ascendant Empyreans. Wang Lin didn't have time to waste. After he put on the soul armor, he had a time limit, so he took off the soul armor immediately after he finished the floor to extend its usage. When he walked out from the Palace, a majestic voice appeared in Wang Lin's mind as the golden light spread out from the palace. This voice was inaudible to outsiders, only he can hear it. I am Lian Yunju, and my divine sense was left here in the Empyrean trial. I also left my spell, the 8 extreme Dao here. If the future generation is fated, they can obtain it here. You have passed my test and therefore can obtain my extreme fire Dao. This is not a spell, essence or Dao spell. It was not created by me, it inherited from the immemorial God realm. As the voice echoed in Wang Lin's mind, an image appeared in his mind. There was a palm, but it contained no trace of fire. The hand rose and green smoke appeared around his finger. The smoke circled the finger 9 times and formed 9 smoke rings. The smoke rings grew and gave off a terrifying aura. Wang Lin sat inside the golden light with his eyes closed as the image and voice appeared in his mind. He had seen this before and had even borrowed his avatar in the void to use it. But right now, he didn't borrow the power from his avatar at all. He raised his right hand subconsciously, and green smoke circled his finger. This scene shocked all the cultivators below. He really passed the Palace. Not many Ascendant Empyreans can pass the Palace. He went from the 5th palace, and in such a short period of time passed through the Palace. I can no longer guess his limit after Wang Lin passed through the Palace. He had completely separated himself from Empyrean Exalts. The Empyrean Exalts below couldn't even see the green smoke on the tip of Wang Lin's finger due to the dense clouds. But Snow Rain and company saw it clearly. The 3 of them had complicated expressions as they looked at Wang Lin, feeling startled. To pass through the Palace in the first attempt at green smoke, I have seen it on Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei. It is clearly the extreme fire from the 8 extreme Dao. We thought he was the same as us, but I didn't expect him to have the power to pass the Palace. Among Ascendant Empyreans, the gap between every palace is extremely large. The 3 of them pondered and silently sighed. Unlike the 3 of them in the distance, Ascendant Empyrean Tiny Child's expression constantly changed. He looked at Wang Lin with hatred in his eyes. Palace, damn it. It took me a long time to pass through it back then. He also obtained the Celestial Ancestor S spell, and I didn't obtain it after passing. The TH Palace must be his limit. It is impossible for him to pass through the TH Palace. Over the countless years, even Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei was stopped at the TH Palace. Only Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao has passed it. This person definitely can't pass. As Ascendant Empyrean Tiny Child stared at Wang Lin, a rare trace of jealousy appeared in his heart. After a long time, Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at the circles of green smoke on his finger. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes, and then the green smoke dissipated. He looked up and never once looked down, but all the cultivators felt their hearts tremble. He looked up at the TH Palace high above him. Snow Rain Ascendant Empyrean said that from the TH Palace onward, each palace has its own fortune. Sure enough, this 8 extreme Tao is different from what I thought. I thought the celestial ancestor had created it, but he inherited it from the immemorial God realm. What exactly is this immemorial God realm? It seems like all signs point to the heaven-defying bead being from there, and the method of becoming a Grand Empyrean also comes from there. Even the celestial ancestor's spell was inherited from the immemorial God realm. What kind of existence is that place? As Wang Lin pondered, his eyes shined brightly. In this Empyrean trial, reputation isn't the only thing that can be obtained here. One can also obtain fortunes left by the celestial ancestor Lian Yunju. That really is the celestial ancestor's name. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and his body trembled. At the same time, bursts of exclamations came from below as he rushed toward the TH Palace. He vaguely heard the excitement and deep expectations from the cries below. However, he didn't care about any of this. He was focused on his original goal in coming here. He was going to become famous with one brilliant move. He felt that just passing the TH Palace was not brilliant enough. He felt that even matching the second strongest Ascendant Empyrean, Kai Wei, and stopping at the TH Palace was not brilliant enough. He felt that perhaps surpassing the strongest Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao could just barely count as brilliant. What's more, from the TH Palace and above, there were fortunes to obtain. Wang Lin was very interested in the 8 extreme Tao that the celestial ancestor had obtained from the immemorial God realm. Mad. He is indeed going to attempt the TA Palace. Palace. I don't know how many Ascendant Empyrean passed it, but these people are extremely rare. He will definitely pass. I don't think he will fail this time. Wang Lin's action caused Snow Rain and company to stare dumbfoundedly at his figure disappearing into the clouds. After a long time, their gazes were filled with an even more complicated feelings, along with admiration. Someone once said that there are those that know not of the limit of ambition. Today, I understand his pursuit is something we can only watch from afar. Snow Rain, do you think he can pass the TH Palace? Yes. Although this is the first time we've met, this person would obviously not do something he has no grasp in. Since he dares to step into the TH Palace, he must be confident. It's unlikely. Only Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao was able to pass through the TA Palace when he became an Ascendant Empyrean. If he passes it, doesn't that mean he will set off the same storm as Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao? Back when Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao became an Ascendant Empyrean, he passed through the TH Palace and caused the Grand Empyreans to come to watch personally. Even most of the Ascendant Empyreans came. All the Grand Empyreans gave very attractive conditions, and he chose the Celestial Emperor in the end. As Snow Rain's group of 3 were talking, intense light came from the ancient transfer array and figures began to appear. These figures made all the Empyrean exalts below become extremely respectful, but they were not shocked that these people that were extremely difficult to meet had all appeared now. Ascendant Empyrean Heavenly Flame, Ascendant Empyrean Chen Fan, Ascendant Empyrean Shattered Dream, that is Ascendant Empyrean Handan. In a moment of silence, almost 30 Ascendant Empyreans came here with their divine senses. When they appeared, they all looked up with serious expressions. It was extremely rare for this many Ascendant Empyreans and Empyrean exalts to appear. Over the countless years, the only other time this happened was when Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao became an Ascendant Empyrean. Even Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei didn't set off such a storm. After several breaths, the ancient transfer array shined brightly. The light became even more dense, and a moment later a tall figure walked out. This shadow was bald, and after he appeared the entire Empyrean trial became silent. Whether it was the Empyrean Exalts or Ascendant Empyreans, they all bowed at the bald figure. Greetings, Grand Empyrean Wu Feng. This tall figure was Grand Empyrean Wu Feng. After he appeared, he was calm as he stepped forward and floated into the sky. He ignored all the people below and looked at Wang Lin, who was pondering. Wang Lin, it doesn't matter if you pass through the TA Palace or not. If you follow me, I'll agree to any condition you request. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng's voice was not loud, but it echoed through the Empyrean Trail and entered Wang Lin's heart. Wang Lin stopped for a moment outside the TH Palace. He bowed and looked down. Thank you, Grand Empyrean, but I still need to pour my full attention on attempting the Empyrean trial. How about we talk about this later? Good. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng didn't mind at all. The more he looked at Wang Lin, the more he intended to recruit him. This was seen by all the surrounding cultivators, and their expressions changed. There was a strange feeling in their hearts. Such a scene. This many Ascendant Empyreans. This was almost comparable to Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao back then. Little friend Wang Lin, do you still remember our agreement? Just at this moment, a voice that made Grand Empyrean Wu Feng frown came from the transfer array. The transfer array lit up and Grand Empyrean Dao Yi walked out. Leo holds a stuffed bear close to his chest, muttering prayers for likes on the video, sprinkling followers in his shares as the children beside him start to crave. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi was wearing a simple Taoist robe, and he smiled as he walked out. He looked at Wang Lin, who was outside the TH Palace. Wang Lin's expression was calm, and he also looked at Grand Empyrean Dao Yi. He also pondered a bit before he clasped his hands. I remember. If I pass the 9th palace, Grand Empyrean Dao Yi will come to recruit me again. This matter is not urgent. Little friend Wang Lin can first attempt the TH Palace. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi smiled, and looked at Grand Empyrean Wu Feng, who was not far away. Their gazes collided and seemed to solidify. This was seen by all the cultivators present. The Empyrean Exalts all had strange gazes in their eyes. Aside from Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, this was the second time they had seen Grand Empyreans fight over someone. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng revealed a flash of coldness, and slowly said, Dao Yi, I have my sights on his child. Don't he fight with me? Grand Empyrean Dao Yi smiled and sent out a divine sense message. Wu Feng, even we can T-force Ascendant Empyreans. It all depends on his own choice. You eyeing him doesn't mean he will follow you. Moreover, he is about to attempt the TH Palace. Once he passes the TH Palace, he will be comparable to Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. Forget you and me, even that old fellow Judy might be moved to come. And there is also that Celestial Emperor. I don't know what he promised Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao to recruit him. As the two chatted with their divine senses, in the sky, Wang Lin took a deep breath and stepped into the TH Palace. The moment he entered the palace, Dao Yi and Wu Feng stopped talking and looked up. All the cultivators here, whether it was Empyrean Exalts or Ascendant Empyreans, looked up. Only the few people watching from outside of the Empyrean trial had different thoughts. The middle-aged man in the purple Yang sect looked at the mirror bitterly and sighed deeply. Ah, how did he pass through the TH Palace? The TH Palace is fine. But he can T-pass the TH Palace once he breaks through. What can I use to recruit him? I fear he will immediately be pulled to the Celestial Emperor and Grand Empyrean Judy. Even Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and Wu Feng would find it difficult to match those two. Unfortunate. If my purple Yang sect S Grand Empyrean Gemini hadn't encountered an accident during the last reincarnation, we could compare to the Celestial Emperor and Judy. This middle-aged man let out a bitter sigh and was about to give up on the idea of recruiting this person. However, at this moment the door was kicked open and a little girl in red ran in. Little Guya, why are you still looking at the broken mirror? Come out and help me and Han teach this little wolf a lesson. Today, this little wolf is being very bad. I am going to teach him a lesson today. Little ancestor, the middle-aged man looked like he was about to cry. Eh? The person inside the broken mirror seems familiar. The little girl in red looked at the mirror and frowned as if she was thinking. Little ancestor, of course you are familiar with them. They are Grand Empyrean Wu Feng and Grand Empyrean Dao Yi. The middle-aged man sighed and planned on giving up recruiting. Let's go, little ancestor. I'll help you deal with that little wolf. The middle-aged man sighed. He pitied the poor cultivator named Greed. Not that dead baldy and that fake mask guy, it's this person. The little girl raised her right hand and pointed at Wang Lin, who had stepped into the palace. Hey, he entered this hall. Very familiar. Let me think. The little girl pondered for a moment, and then her eyes suddenly lit up. His name is Wang Lin. I remember that when I found Little Wolf, I also saw him. I remember that Han Han and I helped him once, and I seem to have seen him before. The person you said you want to recruit was him. Good, good. Me and Han Han will go with you. The little girl blinked and clapped her hands as she laughed. The middle-aged man swallowed and stared at the little girl dumbfoundedly. After a long time, his expression became excited. Little ancestor, are you certain you guys know him from before and even saved him? The little girl frowned and pointed at the excited middle-aged man as she said in an old-fashioned tone, Little Guya, are you going to be disobedient? It is indeed worthy of Grand Empyrean Gemini to have the foresight to have rescued him before. With this, perhaps we can really recruit him. The middle-aged man laughed in excitement, and his face seemed a bit more rosy. He even coaxed the little ancestor before him like a child. As soon as the little girl heard this, she immediately smiled and looked very proud. This is what little Guya gets for being disobedient. Now you know how powerful me and Han Han are and how far-sighted we are. I already told you to forget about those that left, but you want to listen. I, Grand Empyrean Gemini, never force anyone to say. If they want to leave, they can leave. Who controls the flow of fate? How can you, or them, understand this? The more the little girl spoke, the more proud she felt. Yes. Grand Empyrean Gemini controls the flow of fate. Guya admires. The middle-aged cultivator quickly smiled and looked at the little girl before him with a loving gaze. Although his cultivation was lacking, when Grand Empyrean Gemini went through an accident during her reincarnation, he chose to stay to take care of the two little girls when everyone else left. Everything he had done until now was for that grace she had given him during her peak. Back then, he was just an unknown Empyrean Exalt under Grand Empyrean Gemini, but now he was the only one. While laughter echoed in the purple Yang sect, on Mount Emperor in the central continent, the originally lazy Grand Empyrean Judy was now staring intently at the autumn leaf before him, attempting to the palace after passing the palace. This one barely counts as a person. I could begrudgingly give him an offer, but with High Z there, if I go, it will seem to not quite match what I said before, although the old man muttered this. He didn't even blink as he stared at the autumn leaf. Forget it, it is only the palace. This child is far below Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. The old man turned his head and closed his eyes, but a moment later, he opened them again and looked at the autumn leaf. Can he pass or not? Also in the central continent, in the imperial city and the luxurious palace, the black-robed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao stared at the illusion and frowned. Can you kill him in one breath? A calm breath echoed in the hall. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao silently pondered, and a moment later said, one breath is enough. A laugh seemed to echo, and the voice came again. He can pass through the palace. His heavenly bull soul armor will meet the heavenly bull on the palace. Let the others fight over this person. This emperor has no interest. Just as his words echoed, he suddenly stopped talking before he finished. Ripples echoed on the dragon throne, and a middle-aged man who looked extremely similar to the celestial ancestor appeared. There was a hint of shock in his eyes as he looked at the illusion in the palace. The palace in the illusion suddenly erupted with blinding golden light. This golden light was clearly coming from the Empyrean trial, but it seemed to penetrate the void through the illusion, lighting this palace up. He passed the The middle-aged man in the golden robe was rather surprised. The young man in black beside him suddenly released a shocking killing intent. He stared at the illusion, and his eyes revealed a monstrous chill. He understood that Wang Lin had passed through the palace, and would be like him in the past. Wang Lin would have the attention of everyone, and all the Grand Empyreans would strive to recruit him. He could obtain better conditions to get even stronger. Wang Lin passing through the palace meant that whenever someone talked about him, Wang Lin's name would be brought up. This naturally made him, who was always considered the #1 Ascendant Empyrean, very unhappy. The black-robed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao pondered a bit and said, a mere palace. There are a few people in the celestial clan who can do it. Killing him still would only take one breath. But the golden-robed middle-aged man was staring at the illusion. It was unknown what he was thinking. At the same time on Mount Emperor, the old man stood up, and his eyes shined with a strange light. However, after hesitating a bit, he slowly sat down. I have seen him once before, and this child has the Heavenly Bull soul armor passing the TH Palace. With the power of the soul armor means he still can't compare to Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao unless he can pass the TH Palace with the soul armor. He is just a normal Ascendant Empyrean. The old man pondered as he sat down and closed his eyes. Tired, really tiresome. Should I recruit him or not? He should not be able to break through the TH Palace and should give up. Hey! The old man immediately opened his eyes. He saw Wang Lin outside the TH Palace, surrounded by an invisible layer of water vapor. The pressure the ripples created could even be felt through the autumn leaf. Extreme Water Dao. Just as the old man was observing the invisible water ripples around Wang Lin's body in the autumn leaf, he saw Wang Lin move. Wang Lin hadn't given up and was rushing toward the TH Palace. In a flash, his figure disappeared into the cloud as he rushed toward the TH Palace. This scene caused the black-robed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao to let out a cold snort, and there was a flash of killing intent in his eyes. Celestial Emperor, I am going to the Empyrean trial to attempt the TH. Leo's birthday has passed. Thank you all for your blessings, your praise. Leo will continue to strive, producing increasingly captivating chapters. Brothers, keep your sharp tongue sheathed, stored away carefully. Almost all the Empyrean exalts, Ascendant Empyreans, and Grand Empyreans of the Celestial Clan were attracted by Wang Lin's seemingly mad action. This kind of thing was very rare in the Celestial Clan. Only Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao had received this kind of attention in the past. However, this focus would no longer only belong to Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. A part of it would split and descend upon Wang Lin. From now on, in the history of the Celestial Clan, Wang Lin's name would shine brightly and be known by all those that were qualified. Even in the near future, it was likely even the ancient clan would hear about this. The Celestial Clan's 49th Ascendant Empyrean. After becoming an Ascendant Empyrean, he passed the 11th and 12th palaces and was attempting the TH Palace. Grand Empyrean Zhu Dian Mount Emperor was no longer lazing around but staring intently at the autumn leaf before him. His expression was serious. He understood that passing through the TH Palace, even with the soul armor, meant that this person was too not worthless. As for the Celestial Emperor, who had revealed himself in the Imperial Palace, his eyes contained a strange light. He looked at the illusion ahead as he watched Wang Lin rush into the TH Palace. Beside him, the black-robed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao had already sat down. His divine sense had gathered on his forehead and he was about to head to the Empyrean trial. At this moment, in the Empyrean trial, Grand Empyrean Dao Yi frowned and sighed. He knew that the current Wang Lin had already set off a storm. If a Grand Empyrean wanted to attract such a cultivator, it would require a certain price. But no matter how great the price, it would be worth it. Once this person became a Grand Empyrean, the benefits would be well worth it. To have another Grand Empyrean as a friend, and also having a previous relationship would help any Grand Empyrean's status increase greatly. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng also let out a sigh. He foresaw Wang Lin reproducing the scene of the 4 Grand Empyreans beside Gemini, all fighting for the same person. Unless some unknown accident happened. The Empyrean trial was completely silent and the Empyrean exalts were silently looking up at the sky. Throughout the day, they felt the gap between them and Wang Lin, who had gone from the 5th palace to the current TH Palace. They recalled the thoughts they had when Wang Lin had just passed the 5th palace and how that seemed like a joke now. With their cultivation level, they were qualified to comment on an Ascendant Empyrean, much less one that had just passed the TH Palace. Now they could only look up at the figure in the sky. Even Snow Rain and company silently pondered, but their complicated feelings decreased greatly. After all, the gap was too big enough to erase all other thoughts. Back then, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao stopped at the TH Palace. I wonder if this person can surpass him. If he passes the TH Palace, he will completely suppress Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao in the past, becoming the strongest person who just became an Ascendant Empyrean. Although he can compare to the current Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, who can pass the TH Palace, he's not far away. As for the Ascendant Empyrean tiny child, his face was pale after everything he had witnessed. At this moment, he should change his mindset, but he couldn't help but reveal a complicated expression. The Tia Palace, he definitely can pass it. There were more than 20 Ascendant Empyreans who had come here with Snow Rain and company. They were scattered across the Empyrean trial as they looked up, witnessing this event. I wonder if he can pass the TH Palace. My celestial clan has a total of 9 people who stopped at the TH Palace, including Kai Wei and Ming Dao. Even if Wang Lin can pass the TH Palace, he will be in the top 10 among Ascendant Empyreans. The TH Palace, he should not be able to pass. In the end, he still has his limits. There were some Ascendant Empyreans that were friends who talked to each other through divine sense. They looked up at the outline of the TH Palace that was hidden in the clouds. Inside the TH Palace, Wang Lin's face was pale. When he entered, the foggy star system appeared before him again. The fog here seemed more intense than the previous 2 palaces. Wang Lin silently pondered inside this fog. The heavenly bull appeared among the 9 spirits in the TH Palace. I could feel that passing the TH Palace was the limit of the soul armor. The soul armor is not omnipotent. It can raise my cultivation level and increase my combat power, but as my cultivation increases, its effect gradually reduces. After all it can do is make me infinitely close to the heavenly bull. However, in truth, there is still a gap. Fortunately, I learned the extreme fire Dao in the TH Palace and obtained the extreme water Dao in the TH Palace. Out of 8 extreme Daos the celestial ancestor inherited from the immemorial God realm, I now control 2. This TH Palace, should I pass or not? Wang Lin stared at the palace and pondered. What is Dao? As he pondered, the same voice he had heard inside the previous 2 palaces echoed. This voice echoed through the void, and was filled with endless pressure. As the voice echoed, Wang Lin's eyes gradually became calm. He had already answered this question twice, and his response was different each time. He answered life and death are Dao the first time and karma is Dao the second time. The third time, Wang Lin understood that the answer was true and false are Dao. This test of enlightenment of Dao might be difficult for others, but Wang Lin had already begun pondering these matters back in the cave world. One move to become famous, I should have barely counted as having done that. After the Tia Palace I should stop. Even if the Grand Empyreans know that I have the soul armor, this should be enough. Wang Lin pondered and made up his mind. As the voice echoed, Wang Lin's mind was clear. He thought about his dream on planet Suzaku and slowly said, life and death are chains, this is Dao. The chains connect together to form a circle that is karma. This is Dao. People have a dream barrier. They can tell if they are awake or in a dream. This dream barrier hinders all life from seeing the world. They are immersed in the true and false and are unable to pull themselves out. The power to break the dream barrier and open your eyes is true and false. This is Dao. As his words echoed, the fog that covered the area dissipated, revealing the complete star system. Time passed. The people at the Empyrean trial had waited for an incense stick of time, and now their gazes toward the TH Palace were gradually becoming filled with regret and hesitation. This is taking much longer than the TH Palace. This shows how difficult the TH Palace is. It looks like he will stop at the TAS Palace. After all, he must have a limit. That is right. Becoming one of the top 10 most powerful Ascendant Empyreans, the moment he became an Ascendant Empyrean, is enough for his fame to sweep the Celestial Clan. If he could pass the TH Palace, he would become the 3rd most powerful Ascendant Empyrean, just after Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei. In the end, he still hasn't surpassed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. The Ascendant Empyreans sent out divine sense messages to each other. Some felt regret, and some felt relief. Is this the limit? Grand Empyrean Dao Yi looked at the sky and relaxed a bit. Not being able to pass the TH Palace would make it easier for him to recruit Wang Lin. Just as everyone was speculating if Wang Lin would stop at the TH Palace, the ancient transfer array in the distance lit up. A figure began to condense, and after the light dissipated, a young man in black appeared before everyone. His appearance stirred the crowd no less than Dao Yi and Wu Feng. It was as if his appearance would set off a new storm in the Empyrean trial. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. He is Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. Even he came. If Wang Lin passes through the Tia Palace, what kind of expression will Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao make? Many of the Empyrean exalts here hadn't seen Ascendant Empyrean Ming do before, but as they talked to each other, they learned who he was. They all looked at him with respect, but even more so with a sense of expectation. They were waiting for what would happen once Wang Lin appeared and their gazes met. The strongest Ascendant Empyrean, number 1 under the Grand Empyreans. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao decided to come here now. This is interesting. This Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao clearly can't calm down. After all, Wang Lin is about to surpass him. If he didn't come, then it would be contrary to his personality. This Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao had always been arrogant, but no one could challenge him. Even Ascendant Empyrean Kai Wei can only be suppressed by Ming Dao. Only the Ascendant Empyreans had some understanding of Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. They looked at each other, and their expression remained the same, but their expectations also built up in their hearts. Ming Dao greets Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and Wu Feng. The cold-looking youth in black didn't look at the Empyrean Exalts or Ascendant Empyreans, but clasped his hands at the 2 Grand Empyreans. Wu Feng looked at Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao and sighed in his heart. He had offered excellent conditions, but Ming Dao still chose the Celestial Emperor. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly looked up. Not only him, but everyone's hearts trembled, and they stopped paying attention to Ming Dao. They all looked up in the sky. The Tiet Palace covered by clouds suddenly erupted with golden light. This golden light soaked into the clouds, causing the entire sky to become golden. He has passed the Ts. In the past, when Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao became an Ascendant Empyrean, he was stopped at the Th Palace. Now this Wang Lin has passed the Th Palace and surpassed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. The black-robed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's eyes shrank as he stared at the sky, and his expression became a bit gloomy. Leo truly didn't realize today was May 20th. Leo's already married, not caring about this day at all. Truly no intention, I'm already married, yes, just like that. CHIRP, CHIRP, CHIRP. At this moment, the entire Empyrean trial seemed to boil. All the Empyrean Exalts here were shocked by Wang Lin passing the Th Palace. They thought they had overestimated Wang Lin, but they were wrong. Palace. How much battle power does this Wang Lin have? Could it be that he wants to break through all the way to the Th Palace? This person has already shaken the whole world in just a day. The Ascendant Empyreans all looked up at the sky with eyes filled with shock. They had good reason to be shocked by Wang Lin. The moment the golden light came from the Th Palace, it was unknown who had turned to look at Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao first, but a moment later more than half the gazes were locked onto him. Wang Lin passing the Th Palace was an invisible challenge toward Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao looked calm, but a coldness spread out like a cold storm was brewing inside his body. As this coldness spread, the surrounding uproar immediately stopped. In the sky, Wang Lin's figure appeared outside the Th Palace. His face was extremely pale, and after he appeared, he didn't attempt the Th Palace but slowly sank. As he sank, the surrounding cultivators were all silent. Are you not going to keep going? Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's voice echoed in the silence of Wang Lin's descent. As the voice echoed through the Empyrean trial, the hearts of all the cultivators who heard it trembled. A sense of expectation appeared in their hearts. They felt a storm was coming. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi's expression remained calm and he didn't speak. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng smiled as if he hadn't heard anything. These 2 Ascendant Empyreans were both excellent, and they wanted to see what they would do next. This scene was even more interesting to the surrounding cultivators than Wang Lin attempting the Empyrean trial. The people who were far from the Empyrean trial who saw this were also very interested. As Grand Empyrean Judi looked at the autumn leaf before him, his eyes shined brightly. Being able to pass through the Th Palace means that this person is worthy of being recruited. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's action is interesting. I wonder how this Wang Lin will reply. From his appearance, the Th Palace was not easy, but it's enough to make him famous across the Celestial clan. In the Imperial Palace, the Celestial Emperor was sitting on the dragon throne as he looked at the illusion, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He has only passed through the Th Palace. That's nothing to worry about. Ming Dao is a bit too arrogant, and 1T allows someone to surpass him, even though it's only the achievement of someone who has just become an Ascendant Empyrean. Normally, having this kind of personality is not good, but he channels this bad trait into his cultivation, so it's fine. Forget it. Just let Ming Dao teach this Wang Lin a lesson. Even though he has passed the Palace, he has to bow if he comes to my imperial city. Eastern continent. Purple Yang sect. The middle-aged man looked at the mirror before him and frowned. Ming Dao, this person is a bit too much. How could he speak like this before all the Empyrean exalts? He is clearly showing his contempt. In the Empyrean trial, Wang Lin, who had sunk to the 9th palace, suddenly stopped. He looked at the black-robed young man who was looking coldly at him. Who are you? Wang Lin slowly asked. He naturally saw the party as hostility. Ming Dao. The black-robed young man's expression was cold and arrogant. I am asking why you are stopping. Wang Lin frowned, and after pondering a bit, he guessed why Ming Dao was acting like this. It seemed that when he passed the Palace, he had surpassed this person's past achievements. It is rare to have this kind of personality after reaching Ascendant Empyrean. This person, Wang Lin, looked at Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, and his eyes lit up an undetectable amount. To enter Dao with pride and use a heart full of pride to cultivate. Not allowing others to surpass him, this pride fills his heart and soul. No wonder he could become number 1 among Ascendant Empyreans. He likely does not care about anything but single-mindedly focusing on Dao. Wang Lin smiled and ignored the black-robed young man. He flew toward where Dao Yi and Wu Feng were located. Wang Lin greets 2 fellow Grand Empyreans. After this Empyrean trial, I still have an urgent matter to attend to and have to leave. Wang Lin ignored Ming Dao and bowed before Dao Yi and Wu Feng. Being able to pass the Palace means that you can be considered to be at the peak of my celestial clan. I'll come find you. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng smiled and nodded at Wang Lin. Haha, little friend Wang Lin, since you remember our previous agreement, then I'll also go find you. As for the specific conditions, we can talk about them in detail after we meet. Admiration appeared in Grand Empyrean Dao Yi's eyes. Wang Lin clasped his hands at Dao Yi and Wu Feng once more. He continued to ignore Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao as he flew toward the ancient transfer array to leave. He felt like he had already shocked everyone and achieved his goal. In the Palace, if he hadn't used some power from the Avatar in the Void, he could not have passed it with the soul armor alone. At this moment, he decided to stop here. The Palace was enough to attract great attention from the Grand Empyreans. When all the cultivators saw Wang Lin leaving, they felt slightly disappointed in their hearts. It looks like this Wang Lin doesn't dare to provoke Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. This means he knows his limits. After all, he has only passed the Palace, and Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao is the number 1 Ascendant Empyrean who passed through the Palace. However, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao is a bit too aggressive. His words earlier were not polite at all, as if he was questioning Wang Lin. What do you mean, too aggressive? Cultivators like us respect the strong. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao is number 1 under Grand Empyreans and should act like this. On the contrary, it is Wang Lin ignoring him that seems arrogant. The surrounding discussions were no longer via divine senses but with voices, as if there was a purpose. The discussions became louder and louder. Even Wang Lin, who had arrived next to the ancient transfer array, could hear some of it. Wang Lin frowned and looked at the cultivators behind him. Under his gaze, all the chattering stopped. Wang Lin turned back and was about to leave the Empyrean trial through the transfer array. But just at this moment, there was someone who didn't want him to leave like this. Are you just going to leave like this? I have already asked you twice. A cold voice came from the black-robed young man, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. Wang Lin stopped. After pondering a bit, he turned to look at Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. That's right, I'm no longer going to attempt the trial. What do you want? Nothing. I just want you to try the Palace. Once you fail, you can leave, the youth in black slowly said, the arrogance on his face becoming even stronger. After Wang Lin heard this, he suddenly laughed and no longer paid attention to Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. He stepped into the transfer array and it lit up. However, at this moment, there was a flash of killing intent in the black-robed young man's eyes. Arrogant. As he spoke, he raised his right hand and pointed at the transfer array. With this, the entire Empyrean trial seemed to tremble. A giant finger appeared and flew toward the transfer array. Fighting was not allowed in the Empyrean trial. This was a long-standing rule of the Empyrean trial. However, right now, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao had attacked with no regards to this rule. This rule was not set by the celestial ancestor, but by later generations. Therefore, attacking someone here wouldn't provoke the Empyrean trial, but people rarely dared to disobey it. The moment the giant finger appeared, it stirred up the energy here. All the cultivators gasped and fear appeared in their eyes as they retreated. He dares to act here. Indeed worthy of being number one under Grand Empyreans. He even dares to violate the rules here. These rules were set by the Grand Empyreans. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao has guts. The giant finger created a heaven-shattering howl as it flew toward Wang Lin. If Wang Lin didn't move, his divine sense would likely be damaged during the transfer and would likely collapse. But if he hid, he would be forced out from the transfer array and would be unable to leave. This was the same as killing Wang Lin's momentum and would seriously damage Wang Lin's face of passing through the TAE palace. It would show everyone how strong Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao was right after Wang Lin had gained his fame. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao also knew that although fighting between Ascendant Empyreans was rare, as long as he didn't go too far, the Grand Empyreans wouldn't interfere. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and Wu Feng frowned. Dao Yi hesitated and didn't speak, but Wu Feng let out a cold snort. Ming Dao, you have guts. You dare to attack here? As he spoke, he waved his right hand. At this moment, a laugh came from a cultivator below. Golden light surrounded one of the Empyrean exalts below, and an image appeared around him. It was a shadow wearing a golden robe and a crown. It was the Celestial Emperor. This Celestial Emperor appeared here using his own special spell. He waved his right hand at Wu Feng and diffused the power from Wu Feng's wave. Inside the transfer array, Wang Lin looked up and killing intent appeared in his eyes. He originally didn't want to create too much trouble here, but Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's actions had caused killing intent to appear in his heart. He wouldn't allow the goal he had achieved to be destroyed by this person. When the finger arrived, Wang Lin walked out from the transfer array. The finger stopped before Wang Lin and dissipated. It was as if the party had no intention of actually attacking and was just mocking Wang Lin. Leo continues to read. Today is Monday, wishing for just a few more likes and followers for the VIDEO channel. Celestial Emperor. What is the meaning of this? Grand Empyrean Wu Feng stared at the Celestial Emperor's shadow around the Empyrean Exalt. Wu Feng, no need to be angry. Ming Dao didn't hurt anyone and didn't break any rules. The Celestial Emperor's shadow around the cultivator smiled, but he had an expression as if he couldn't be questioned. He didn't even look at Wang Lin, who was outside the transfer array. Not to mention, if Wang Lin didn't leave the transfer array and the finger landed, his divine sense would have been damaged during the transfer. Forget violating the rules, this kind of behavior is extremely shameless. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng waved his sleeve and showed no sign of retreat. Celestial Emperor Wu Feng smiled and said, Wu Feng, your words are a bit too much. Is the child injured? Wu Feng coldly looked at the Celestial Emperor, but didn't speak. Since no damage was done, what need is there to act like this? Wu Feng, I know you want to recruit this child and I want to fight with you. This kind of cultivator, the Celestial Emperor lowered his head to look at Wang Lin, is worthless. He has the soul armor, so he can pass the TAE palace. But without the soul armor, it would have been difficult for him to become an Ascendant Empyrean. The Celestial Emperor said in a casual tone. He was the Celestial Emperor, Grand Empyrean 8 Extreme. His words meant more than any Ascendant Empyrean S. His words set off a storm in the Empyrean trial. Almost no Empyrean Exalts and Ascendant Empyreans here knew that Wang Lin had a soul armor. They thought Wang Lin had passed through the TAE palace with his own strength. However, after the Celestial Emperor spoke, a buzz of discussion erupted. He has a soul armor. This man is actually so shameless. I was wondering how he could climb from the 5th palace to the TH palace. It turns out that he relied on the power of the soul armor. Even I can do that. No wonder he passed through the palaces so fast. His actual power is only at the 5th palace, but because of the soul armor, he was able to get this far. He can deceive us, but he can deceive the Grand Empyreans. We were almost cheated by him. This Wang Lin is shameless. What Ascendant Empyrean. He is simply a common Empyrean Exalt. Without the soul armor, I can kill him in one breath. Oomph. I suspect he doesn't even have the cultivation of an Empyrean Exalt, and the reason he can come here is due to the power of the soul armor. Look at his cultivation level. He is clearly only at the mid-stage of Void Tribulent, and not even a Golden Exalt. I thought he was deliberately hiding his cultivation level. Now it seems like he is merely a tiny mid-stage Void Tribulent cultivator. No wonder only Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and Grand Empyrean Wu Feng came after he broke through the TH Palace. Grand Empyrean Zhu Di never appeared. Clearly, he has long seen through this person's shamelessness and felt too much disdain to recruit him. What kind of talent does this person have? He is clearly a cheater. He deceived us all. If I knew this, I wouldn't have come to watch. The reason the Empyrean Exalts were so angry was mostly due to jealousy. Before, it had mostly dissipated due to the large gap, but now that they had learned that it was all fake, their jealousy broke out. The Ascendant Empyreans all had strange expressions as they looked at Wang Lin. He is actually using a soul armor, but even with the soul armor, to be able to pass the TH Palace means he has some skills. I didn't expect it to be like this. This person's reputation had just reached its peak after becoming the third strongest Ascendant Empyrean, but then the Celestial Emperor pointed out the soul armor. Could the Celestial Emperor have a grudge against him? There is something wrong with this matter. If it was so simple, Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and Grand Empyrean Wu Feng wouldn't have come to watch. The surrounding discussions buzzed and entered Wang Lin's ears. He stood there silently, pondering, and his face was a little pale. He still had everyone's attention, but compared to before, it was like night and day. This was the purpose of the Celestial Emperor. He wouldn't let Wang Lin gain fame so easily. That's why he pointed out the critical point. Now he listened to the discussions of the surrounding cultivators and smiled. So you wore the soul armor to pass the TH Palace. I was wondering why you were rushing to leave after the TH Palace, and did not attempt to pass the TH Palace. It seems the time on your soul armor ran out, so you could no longer fool everyone and had to leave immediately. Forget it. A cultivator like you is not qualified for me to take another look at. Scram! Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao sneered at Wang Lin and waved his sleeve. What a disappointment. Facing all the discussions and contempt of all the surrounding cultivators, Grand Empyrean Dao Yi opened his mouth to say something, but he just let out a sigh in his heart. He knew that the cultivator named Wang Lin was notorious in the Celestial clan. For the Celestial Emperor to speak like this at this moment means that he has some sort of relationship with this child. This person he is not infamous. This person it is best not to recruit him. Although his child's understanding is somewhat different, it is now all a waste. Dao Yi sighed and didn't speak. He had given up on Wang Lin. Just at this moment, the voice of an angry woman came from the crowd. This voice contained her full cultivation and echoed across the Empyrean trial. All of you, shut up. You don't know anything. More than a decade ago, Wang Lin could battle against me without the soul armor. How could he be anything like what you say? Even with the soul armor, so what? That just means he has obtained the recognition of the foreign souls to grant him power. It is also part of his own cultivation. TH Palace, he has the power to pass the TH Palace. Do any of you who mock him dare to go up against him? If you are all jealous, you can all go obtain soul armors and see how difficult obtaining the recognition of a foreign soul is compared to the Empyrean trial. This voice came from Empyrean Exalt High Z. Empyrean Exalt High Z was very famous across the Celestial clan. Part of it was because her teacher was Grand Empyrean Zhu Di, and part of it was her own strength. After her words echoed, the surroundings suddenly became quiet. Wang Lin was still silently pondering as he stood outside the transfer array with a pale face. Under the doubtful gazes of everyone present, he looked at the excited and angry Empyrean Exalt High Z in the distance. The Celestial Emperor shook his head and said, "Little fellow High Z, don't speak nonsense. Whether it's you Empyrean Exalts or Ascendant Empyreans, the focus on your own cultivation is key. There is a limit to relying on external power. This Wang Lin's limit is the TH Palace. I fear that for the next hundreds of thousands of years, it will be difficult for him to take another step forward. What's the point of temporarily reaching this level? This is the truth all you cultivators need to remember, because relying on external power just delays your own cultivation. This Wang Lin is an example for you all." Grand Empyrean Wu Feng, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly said, "External force? the title of Grand Empyrean is also an external force. It is an inheritance from the immemorial god realm. If it is really as you say, which one of us hasn't obtained help from an external force? Even you, Celestial Emperor, Grand Empyrean 8 Extreme. I remember when you were only an Empyrean Exalt. If not for your bloodline inheriting the legacy of the celestial ancestor, do you think you could have inherited the title of 8 Extreme? External force is another force. As long as this power can blow away everything in your path, who would dare to say anything? Grand Empyrean Wu Feng coldly stared at the Celestial Emperor and spoke once more. You call him worthless then, in the eyes of the celestial ancestor? A descendant like you is also worthless. Wu Feng was not holding back anymore. The Celestial Emperor stared at Wu Feng, and his expression gradually became cold. How can the title of a Grand Empyrean be compared to a soul armor? Wu Feng, I am surprised you can still value such a person. Even when this child put on the soul armor, the Palace was his limit. But if he got the title of Grand Empyrean, he could easily pass through the Palace. Do you think these two are the same thing? Forget the Palace. If he can pass through the Palace, I'll help him today. I'll pass down a holy edict telling the world that he is the #1 person in the celestial clan below Grand Empyreans. That is, if he can. Wu Feng silently pondered. The Celestial Emperor smiled slightly, as if he didn't care about what Wu Feng had said. He turned around, and his shadow was about to dissipate. Ming Dao, return to the palace. The matter here is over. Dao Yi let out a sigh, and was about to turn to leave. Even the Empyrean Exalts and Ascendant Empyreans turned with the thoughts of leaving. This show was over. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao coldly looked at the silent Wang Lin. He sneered and was about to leave. But just at this moment, Wang Lin suddenly let out a sigh. He looked up at the Celestial Emperor that was about to dissipate. To palace, Celestial Emperor, take a good look. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but inside his body a force was gathering. At this moment, it erupted, and he flew into the sky. His action suddenly caused Dao Yi to pause and the Celestial Emperor to frown. His dissipating body solidified once more, and he looked toward Wang Lin. Wu Feng's eyes lit up, and he looked at Wang Lin, who had charged into the sky like a dragon. Not only them, but everyone in the Empyrean trial raised their heads and looked up at Wang Lin's figure. What is he going to do? Is he really going to continue? His soul armor is already at the time limit. How can he continue? As Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao looked at Wang Lin's figure, his heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling. At the same time, outside the Empyrean trial, on Mount Emperor, Grand Empyrean Judy suddenly stood up and stared at the autumn leaf before him. He had seen everything that had happened and agreed with the Celestial Emperor's words. When he saw Wang Lin fly up, he showed a rare sign of surprise. What does this child have up his sleeve to continue? At this moment in the Purple Yang sect, Grand Empyrean Gemini had played enough and had returned to the side of the middle-aged cultivator. They saw Wang Lin being belittled and was very angry. When they saw Wang Lin flying into the sky, they were filled with expectation. Wow, Wang Lin? Greed, who was being tortured by Grand Empyrean Gemini, stared at the mirror, and his mind was blank. Leo has a nasal inflammation and a cold again. My nose is just like a running faucet, frustrated. At this moment, Wang Lin was charging into the sky. He didn't want to do this. He wanted to stop at the Palace. However, the appearance of the Celestial Emperor and what he had said caused rage to brew inside Wang Lin's heart. This rage was proof of his earlier speculation. The trip to the Imperial City would be extremely dangerous. The reason the Celestial Emperor had come to destroy Wang Lin's momentum was so that no Grand Empyreans would recruit him. Even if they did recruit him, they wouldn't give him the treatment he should have for passing the Palace. This method was the most direct, but it was extremely effective. To plummet to the abyss from the top of his glory, to go from the peak of respect to being looked down upon by all. This kind of contrast was nothing to Wang Lin. He was never one to care about such things. However, this would not only destroy his goal of becoming famous, but also make his name notorious across the Celestial clan. He would never allow such a thing to happen. Even if it was the Celestial Emperor he was going to fight. Palace. Good. Since all of you think my limit is the Palace, then today I'm going to be thoroughly arrogant and show off. Celestial Emperor, for you to be despicable, I can see the shamelessness in your bloodline. No wonder the person sealed under the Dong Lin pool would have resentment that still hadn't dissipated after death. No wonder he would call Lian Yunju despicable. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He instantly rushed past the TH Palace and moved like a dragon toward the TH Palace. At the Tia Palace, when Wang Lin was about to enter, he stopped and looked down. Celestial Emperor, open your eyes and watch carefully for me. Arrogant, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao roared as he stood before the Celestial Emperor. However, the Celestial Emperor remained the same and smiled. I am waiting for you to pass the Tia Palace. However, his pupils shrank an undetectable amount. Wang Lin sneered. Since all pretenses had been torn apart, he no longer needed to act polite. The more he acted like this, the more safe his trip to the Imperial City would be after this affair was over. He stepped into the TH Palace. The soul armor doesn't have much time left. Since I want to shock everyone, I have to use the avatar formed by the law of the immortal astral continent. Avatar, use the soul as a guide and fuse. Wang Lin's figure disappeared into the TAH Palace. After Wang Lin entered the TH Palace, the cultivators below all went silent. This change was no less sudden than when they learned that Wang Lin had used the soul armor to pass the TH Palace. Among the current Ascendant Empyreans, only Kai Wei and Ming Dao have passed the Tia Palace. This Wang Lin is a mere cheater. It is impossible for him to pass. The reason he is doing this is likely due to anger from shame. He's going to risk it all, attempt it. Interesting. What has happened here was full of twists and turns. I wonder how the final twist will turn out. No need to think about this. This person can pass it. His soul armor is out of time. What plan does he have to pass? The Empyrean exalts coldly looked at the sky and felt contempt toward Wang Lin. As for the dozens of Ascendant Empyreans, they all looked at the sky with different thoughts. Most of them had decided that Wang Lin would fail and thought that what Wang Lin was acting like a trapped beast going insane. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi looked at the sky and frowned. He also didn't think Wang Lin could pass the TH Palace. Being pushed into desperation by the Celestial Emperor with only a few words shows that his heart is not determined enough. This child is not worth recruiting. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao continued to sneer, as if this was the only expression he had. However, there was a hint of fear in his gaze as he looked at the sky. He didn't know why, but he felt like there was something wrong. Beside him, the Celestial Emperor was silently pondering. He was calm, but he hesitated a bit in his heart. From my understanding of him, he would rarely do something he is not confident in. However, passing the TH Palace without the soul armor is very difficult. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen to leave before. He is just digging his own grave. However, just as the Celestial Emperor thought about this, it had only been a mere 9 breaths. This was also when a dazzling golden light erupted from the sky. This golden light came from the TAA Palace. It penetrated the clouds and enveloped the area. This golden light was extremely dazzling, enough to penetrate the eyes and hearts of the cultivators below. 9 breaths. Impossible. He spent a long time in the TH Palace. How could he only take 9 breaths to pass the even more difficult TH Palace? He actually passed it. Isn't his soul armor unusable? Doesn't he only have 5th palace strength without the soul armor? Could have another soul armor? Grand Empyrean Dao Yi was startled, and he flew into the sky to watch the golden light from the TH Palace close up. He actually passed the TA Palace. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at the sky. No problem. It's only the TA Palace. The Celestial Emperor looked at the sky and his pupils shrank once more. He then slowly closed his eyes. In the sky, Wang Lin's figure appeared outside the TH Palace. He didn't pause to rest and flew straight for the TH Palace. When he entered the TH Palace inside the golden light, a huge wave was set off among the people below. He went into the TH Palace, right after passing through the TH Palace in 9 breaths. Did we misunderstand him before? Even with a soul armor, it is extremely shocking to reach the TH Palace. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi stared at the sky. He had given up on recruiting Wang Lin, but now the intent had returned. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths after Wang Lin had been in the TH Palace for 9 breaths. Dazzling golden light erupted from the TH Palace. This golden light penetrated the clouds and rapidly spread out. The appearance of the golden light was like a huge slap on the Celestial Emperor's face. This caused the Celestial Emperor to open his eyes and reveal a rare sign of shock. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi took a deep breath and golden light shined from his eyes. This child, we all misunderstood him. He has even more terrifying potential than Ming Dao. Even the soul armor is just another power for him. If it was someone else with the same soul armor, who would dare to say they could pass the TH Palace? Grand Empyrean Wu Feng looked calm, but a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he didn't hide the admiration in his eyes. He didn't hesitate to go against the Celestial Emperor, because he was making a bet. Wang Lin would remember what he had done, and even if Wang Lin didn't choose to follow him, they would have a good relationship if Wang Lin became a Grand Empyrean one day. TH Palace. He passed the TH Palace. Killing intent appeared in Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's eyes. His pride wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. He rushed into the sky. This was seen by everyone, and these cultivators suddenly cried out. Again, 9 breaths to pass 1 palace. This Wang Lin is definitely not what we thought before. This person has a powerful cultivation, and is not someone we can comprehend. He was clearly hiding his strength and didn't want to show off too much. If he had not been forced by the Celestial Emperor, he would not have attempted more. Yes, there must be some unspeakable secret between him and the Celestial Emperor, which is why the Celestial Emperor attacked him so. Similar thoughts appeared among the Ascendant Empyreans as well. At this moment, they no longer felt contempt toward Wang Lin, only some complicated feelings along with admiration. No matter what method, passing the TH Palace meant strength. Empyrean Exalt High Z looked at this from among the crowd and smiled as she looked at the sky. Although she knew that the gap between them had grown even wider, like now where she could only look up at him, she still felt very happy. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao flying up caused this excitement to reach a new height. He flew straight into the sky, and the moment Wang Lin arrived before the Tia Palace, the two of them stepped into the Tia Palace at the same time. The Empyrean trial was not limited to one person at a time. Both could enter at the same time and would not meet each other. They would each attempt it on their own. The TH Palace hadn't lit up in countless years. It was not like the TH Palace, which had lit up once before. Empyrean Ascendant Ming Dao and Wang Lin are both attempting the TH Palace at the same time. Who can pass? Grand Empyrean Dao Yi looked at the sky and anticipation appeared in his heart. After all, between the two, one had been famous for many years and one had just begun to rise up. Both of them attempting the TH Palace was a big deal for the Celestial Clan. Wu Feng's expression also became serious. Each layer of the Empyrean trial was more difficult than the one before. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao had attempted the TH Palace twice before and failed both times. The Celestial Emperor was watching from the distance and was feeling extremely gloomy. The words he had just spoken had been blown away by Wang Lin, and he had been hit in the face with an invisible slap. At this moment, coldness appeared in his eyes as he looked at the sky. In a flash, 9 breaths passed. Just as the 9th breath passed, the 16th palace that hadn't lit up in countless years released a dazzling golden light. Golden light? This is the TH Palace. The TH Palace has been passed. Before today, no Ascendant Empyrean has passed the TH Palace. Who is it? Among the two of them, which one passed? 9 breaths? It must be Wang Lin. Not necessarily. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao has been famous for many years. If he was not confident, why would he attempt it? In my opinion, it is Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao this time. Dao Yi, Wu Feng, and the Celestial Emperor all looked over with serious expressions. They also wanted to know who it was. Empyrean Exalt High Z looked at the sky nervously, but soon revealed a joyous expression. Outside the Tia Palace, Wang Lin walked out. His face was slightly pale, but he didn't immediately go to the TH Palace. He stood there, looking at the palace as if he was waiting for Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. This scene caused Dao Yi's eyes to open wide. Wu Feng's eyes were filled with shock. And as for the Celestial Emperor, his expression constantly changed, trying to hide his disbelief. Forget them, even Grand Empyrean Ju Di at Mount Emperor gasped. These past few days without wishing for likes on the VIDEO. The like button for the VIDEO has quickly fallen to 10th. Urgently wishing for you readers to flip through and see if there's a like button for the VIDEO left unpressed. The Empyrean exalts below were completely silent. All the changes today made it so they no longer cried out, and instead stared at the blurry TH palace and the blurry white figure next to it. Wang Lin's actions had completely reversed the disadvantageous situation from before. All the questions and doubts were swept away by absolute strength, leaving nothing behind. Since the Celestial Emperor said that the soul armor and external forces were not perfect, then Wang Lin was going to tell everyone that the TH Palace was not his limit. Wang Lin hadn't opened his mouth once to explain when thousands of words questioned him. Instead, he passed the TH Palace, and now the TH Palace that hadn't been passed for countless years. This was more powerful and shocking than 10,000 excuses. The entire Empyrean trial was dead silent. Facing the countless gazes from below, Wang Lin remained silent and showed no emotion. His eyes were closed as he stood inside the golden light. It was as if he was cultivating and waiting for ascendant Empyrean Mingdao. This scene gave him the aura of a grand master, and all the cultivators who saw him felt respect in their hearts. Time passed breath by breath in a flash. More than one incense stick of time passed. Wang Lin was the only one outside the TH Palace, and there was no sign of ascendant Empyrean Mingdao. After another half an incense stick of time, the TH Palace that was shrouded in golden light released more golden light. Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao emerged this golden light with a laugh. This laughter contained his excitement. He had been waiting for so many years for this day, and now he had finally passed the TH Palace. He appeared before Wang Lin, revealing his black-robed figure. The TH Palace. Today I, Mingdao, have passed the TH Palace. Which ascendant Empyrean in the Celestial Clan dares to compete with me? I have to thank you, who are good at deceiving. If not. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly stopped because everything was too quiet. There was no burst of cheers and cries after he passed the TH Palace, but instead complicated gazes from the cultivators below. Wang Lin slowly said, "You read too slow. You passed the TH Palace." Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao's face immediately turned pale. He stared at Wang Lin, and powerful killing intent appeared in his eyes. He would never allow someone else be stronger than him. He couldn't do much against Grand Empyreans, but he had to be number one among Ascendant Empyreans. But now the cheers and fame he should have obtained from passing the TH Palace had been snatched by Wang Lin. Looking at Wang Lin, he must have taken much less time to pass the TH Palace. This caused Mingdao to be filled with anger from embarrassment. His prideful heart would not allow such a thing. "Do you want to try again?" Wang Lin was still calm as he looked at Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao, whose expression was constantly changing. The more he acted like he didn't care, the more unacceptable it was for Mingdao. He stared at Wang Lin, and it looked like his eyes were about to spew fire. With a personality like this, how did he reach his current cultivation level? Perhaps it has to do with his arrogance. The more he loses, the more it stimulates him. This allowed him to comprehend a distorted sort of life, as he suffered the pain of being surpassed. Like a bow, the more it bends, the stronger the potential power when it erupts, but no matter how strong the bow is, I'll make it fold. Wang Lin looked at Mingdao. He hadn't forgotten the humiliation Mingdao had brought upon him. Mingdao had been very vicious, and Wang Lin would not let him go. What's more, this Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao was the person the Celestial Emperor valued the most. Destroying him would be a powerful blow to the Celestial Emperor's words about talent. To destroy Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao, he would have to completely destroy his confidence. He would have to make Mingdao attempt the TH Palace with him and then trample him once more. Make Mingdao collapse and be forever under Wang Lin's pressure. Like a bow, the more it bent, the stronger the potential power. But once it went beyond its limit, there would be no potential left, as it would be broken. Wang Lin was merciless and decisive. He was going to take this opportunity to destroy Mingdao's heart. Since all pretense is torn, let's tear it even wider. Wang Lin sneered in his heart as he looked at Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao with contempt in his eyes. This gaze of contempt caused Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao to clench his fist. The Celestial Emperor below no longer looked gloomy. He calmly said, "Mingdao, return to the Imperial Palace with me." After that, he looked at Wang Lin with admiration in his eyes. "Good, my Celestial Clan has one more powerful cultivator. Wang Lin, this emperor misunderstood you before. Once I return to the Imperial City, I'll immediately send out an edict and announce this to the world. and you and I still have an agreement. This emperor has invited you to the imperial city, and it has now been many years. Now that you have become an ascendant Empyrean, it would be the perfect time. All ascendant Empyreans are titled by the imperial family. Come to the imperial city for this grand ceremony, and this emperor will personally carry it out for you. The celestial emperor smiled as if none of the anger from before existed. His smile was like a spring breeze that affected all the surrounding cultivators. They all bowed and clasped their hands. Wang Lin remained calm and slowly said, "I'll be troubling the celestial emperor." "No problem." "Ming Dao, are you still not leaving?" The celestial emperor smiled and suddenly looked at Ming Dao, who was struggling in the sky, before letting out a roar. This roar echoed in Ming Dao's mind like thunder, and his heart skipped a beat. Then all of Ming Dao's anger suddenly disappeared and he was calm again. He stood there, looking at Wang Lin, and no trace of anger remained. He looked at Wang Lin profoundly, and then flew down. Wang Lin frowned. This ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao was able to suppress all that rage and even his unbearable pride. If he let this person go, he would likely have a breakthrough with his special Dao. Wang Lin didn't care about the angry ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, but when Ming Dao suddenly calmed down, Wang Lin felt a trace of danger. "Are you not going to keep going?" Wang Lin's expression remained the same and his voice was cold. The celestial emperor frowned slightly when he heard this. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao acted like he didn't hear it and walked toward the celestial emperor. "So this is Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. What a disappointment. Doesn't T even have the courage to attempt the palace?" Wang Lin had a strange feeling when Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao didn't even turn around. Perhaps it wasn't by accident that this person had become number one among Ascendant Empyreans. If this was true, Wang Lin had to destroy his mind right here. "Wang Lin, what is your intent?" The celestial emperor's gaze revealed pressure, and he looked at Wang Lin. Empyrean Ascendant Ming Dao pondered for a moment and closed his eyes as if he was struggling. However, this only lasted for one breath. He calmed down immediately afterward and silently walked toward the celestial emperor. "I just want him to try the palace. Once he fails, he can leave." Wang Lin smiled, and his laughter echoed in Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's ears, stabbing at his heart. This was what he had said to Wang Lin. His breathing became rough, and he stopped once more. His self-esteem wouldn't allow him to bear this, but at this moment, the celestial emperor waved his sleeve. A soft breeze wrapped around Ming Dao and threw him toward the ancient transfer array. "Go back to the imperial palace." Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao suppressed the urge to turn around, and his eyes were bloodshot. The force from the celestial emperor had pushed him into the ancient transfer array, and it began activating. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He could not let Ming Dao leave like this. The moment the transfer array activated, he raised his right hand and pointed at the ancient transfer array. With this, 99 afterimages appeared and condensed to form a giant finger that flew toward the ancient transfer array. The celestial emperor was angry and was about to attack, but at this moment Grand Empyrean Wu Fang laughed. He casually took a step forward, but this step caused the celestial emperor to pause. Both of them were Grand Empyreans, and at this moment, their auras were locked. If he moved, Wu Fang would act as well. With such a delay, the finger closed in on the transfer array. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao looked up and let out a roar. He was in the middle of being transferred, so he couldn't attack. He clenched his teeth and stepped out from the transfer array. The moment he walked out, the giant finger before him dissipated, as if mocking him. This was exactly the same as what Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao had done to Wang Lin. "Wang Lin!" Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao walked out from the transfer array and stared at Wang Lin. The anger and humiliation he had suppressed were about to erupt. "Wang Lin, you have guts. You have the courage to violate the rules here. Today, Don T blamed this emperor." The celestial emperor obviously didn't think Wang Lin would dare to attack. "Oh, did I hurt anyone? Is he injured? Since there is no injury, how did I violate any rules?" Wang Lin smiled and countered with the same words the celestial emperor had used. The celestial emperor was about to speak, but Wang Lin was even faster. He looked at Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, who was trying to suppress his anger, and his voice echoed across the Empyrean trial. "It looks like you no longer have any pride and have given up your self-esteem. I was wondering why you were in a rush to leave and not attempt the TH Palace. I fear that not only did you give up your self-esteem but also lost your faith as well. You are just a walking body that listens to every command from the Celestial Emperor. He tells you to leave and you dare to not immediately leave. Forget it, a cultivator like you is not qualified for me to look at anymore. Scram! Wang Lin waved his sleeve, and he didn't hold back the contempt in his eyes. His gaze stabbed into Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's mind. What a disappointment. This last sentence made it so Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao could no longer suppress it anymore. His body trembled as he let out a roar and charged into the sky. Wang Lin, both of us will attempt the TAs. Go! Wang Lin laughed and stepped into the TH Palace at the same time as Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. The Celestial Emperor was about to stop them, but he was stopped by Wu Feng. Lian Daojin, there is no need for us to interfere with a competition between Ascendant Empyreans. Lately, Leo has been having headaches, always seeming to see light waves in the form of lines, affecting my vision, sometimes momentarily half-blinded, perhaps too exhausted. When they were outside the Tia Palace, Wang Lin slowly said, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, wait for me outside. Don't leave by yourself before I come out. His words were extremely vicious. Not only had he pointed out that Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao couldn't pass this palace, but he had also sealed his escape. If Ming Dao failed and left, then this would leave behind an inner demon in Ming Dao's heart. But if he really left and waited, then although there wouldn't be an inner demon, he would suffer a major blow if Wang Lin really passed. This blow would be the equivalent of a bow breaking. After Wang Lin said this, the two disappeared into the TH Palace. The Empyrean exalts could not hear this, and the Ascendant Empyreans were too far away to hear it clearly, but the three Grand Empyreans heard it clearly. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi's eyes narrowed as if it was the first time he had met Wang Lin. He looked at the TH Palace with a serious expression. This Wang Lin is very cunning. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng's eyes also lit up as he looked at the sky, and he gradually smiled. It looks like he is determined to destroy Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. As for the Celestial Emperor, his expression was extremely gloomy. He waved his sleeve as if he was unwilling to keep watching. His shadow around the Empyrean exalt gradually disappeared, and he left the Empyrean trial. In the Imperial Palace in the Imperial City, a cold laughter echoed through the palace. Also at the Central Continent, Grand Empyrean Zhu Di had stood up as he looked at the autumn leaf with a serious expression. His eyes revealed a strange light. What a character! Not only is his enlightenment in Dao high and combat power extraordinary, he is also very cunning. Good, this child is not worthless, but a seedling even better than Ming Dao. In the Empyrean trial, after Wang Lin and Ming Dao entered the TH Palace, 3 breaths passed when a figure coughing out blood mist was thrown out. This figure was pushed back thousands of feet before stopping. It was the black-robed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. His face was pale, and after he stopped, he coughed out another mouthful of blood. His body trembled, as if he could not remain steady. The light in his eyes had dissipated, as if he had lost all vitality. He stared at the TH Palace a few thousand feet away and was silent. He had failed. The moment he entered, he failed and was seriously injured as he was pushed out. He didn't look down, but he could feel the gazes of the cultivators below, cutting bloody wounds on his body. Time passed. The 4th breath, 5th breath, 6th breath until half an incense stick of time passed. Empyrean Ascendant Ming Dao endured this whole time and looked at the TH Palace. He was waiting for Wang Lin to get pushed out. The more time passed, the stronger his expectation became. In the end, this reached a peak and became his only faith. If I didn't succeed, then he definitely can succeed. If he doesn't pass, I didn't lose. This weight was enough to kill any cultivator. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's hair was a mess, and his eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the TH Palace. Time passed once more. Half an incense stick, 1 incense stick soon, half an hour passed. Wang Lin had never been inside a palace for so long, but he was in the TH Palace now. The half hour of time allowed Ming Dao's fate to rise, as if he had regained hope. The longer it takes, the more difficult it becomes for him, and the chance of him succeeding decreases. This Wang Lin won T succeed. He can T succeed. All of Ming Dao's energy was condensed in his eyes as he looked at the bleak fifth palace. His fragile hope was the last barrier of his pride. If this was broken, his mind would collapse and sink into the despair of being completely suppressed. He won T succeed. He won T succeed. Too much time had passed. All the silent cultivators below were surprised and began to speculate. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi also frowned. He looked at the TAH palace and hesitation appeared in his heart. In this short day he had changed his mind several times. This kind of thing should not happen with him, but it did. The Empyrean trial only has 19 palaces, and he passed the 16th palace. Even if doesn't T pass the TH palace, this is enough to show his power, but once he passes the TH palace, then I fear even Grand Empyrean Judy will come to compete for him. People like him only come by once every tens of thousands of years. Also, this ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao has suffered continual blows from Wang Lin. If he can raise up again, it'll be fine, but if he can T, then his Dao heart will be done for. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng also had a complicated expression as he looked at the TH palace, but unlike Dao Yi, he still had some confidence. I have helped him before. This help can be considered big or small, but even when he was being suppressed, I still helped him as a result. He will definitely choose me. That Dao Yi is hesitating. This is related to his personality. That kind of personality can only attract the weak. People with real strength have their own pride, so unless we show grace, how could they be willing to follow us? However, if this Wang Lin really passes through the TH palace, it will be very difficult even for me to recruit him if there are no accidents. He will have an 80% chance of becoming a Grand Empyrean in the future. The Imperial Palace in the Imperial Capital was dead silent, and was covered in a powerful pressure filled with endless anger. In the palace, the Celestial Emperor was sitting on the dragon throne, looking at the pale-faced ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. There was a strange light in his eyes. I really should have listened to the Imperial teacher and killed this Wang Lin. But I thought that with my status as a Grand Empyrean, whether it was acting on my own or sending someone else, I shouldn't make a big deal out of a small problem. I gave him the opportunity to grow. I thought everything was in my grasp. No matter how much he grows, once he comes to the Imperial City, I will find an excuse to capture him and send him to the Imperial teacher. But I didn't expect to grow to this state, enough to attract the attention of the other Grand Empyreans. He even had to destroy Ming Dao, who I have paid a great price to recruit. The Celestial Emperor looked at the illusion as he muttered to himself, but his mouth revealed a faint smile that didn't match his words. If he passes the TH Palace, he will surely attract the attention of that old follow, Judy. Once he is recruited by Judy, the Celestial Emperor closed his eyes. It's been so long already, perhaps he won T-Pass. But I hope he passes and gives Ming Dao a merciless blow. The Celestial Emperor opened his eyes, and the strange smile on his face grew even stronger. Ming Dao, you can let this emperor down. This king has done so much for you, even allowed this Wang Lin to grow. Central Continent, Mount Emperor. Judy was looking at the autumn leaf before him intently. While pondering, he saw a problem that the other Grand Empyreans seemed to ignore. If he passes the TH Palace, not only will he become famous, but more importantly, his combat power will be revealed. With that kind of combat power, he will be number one under Grand Empyreans in the Celestial Clan. Even if a Grand Empyrean acts against him, he might be able to escape. How much would it cost to recruit such a person? I'd prefer it if he didn't pass the TH Palace. Judy pondered and, for the first time, looked at the autumn leaf with a complicated expression. In the Empyrean trial, as everyone watched the TAH Palace, some had expectations and some hoped Wang Lin would fail after another incense stick of time passed. After such a long time without any change, Ming Dao's face was no longer pale and was filled with hope and confidence. However, just as his hope reached its peak and he was about to recover, his whole body trembled violently as if he was hit by lightning, because he saw a dazzling golden light erupt from the TAA Palace. This golden light spread out like crazy and filled everyone's eyes. A white figure walked out from the golden light. His white hair became golden under the golden light. Wang Lin walked out and didn't even look at Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. As everyone watched, he walked past Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, who had completely collapsed after that little rise of hope. Total disregard. He didn't attempt the TH Palace but sank step by step. He stopped before Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and Wu Feng and clasped his hands at them. He looked at Wu Feng before flying to the ancient transfer array and leaving. As he left, he looked at Hai Zi among the crowd with a smile and nodded. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao coughed out a mouthful of blood as he muttered. He passed the TH Palace. This blood mist was also formed by origin essence. After all, he wasn't Ti here with his physical body. As the blood-like origin essence dissipated, Ming Dao looked like he had lost all vitality. His pride had collapsed. His Dao had been mercilessly destroyed by Wang Lin. He silently departed with a miserable smile. But at this moment, no one cared about Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. After Wang Lin left, an unprecedented uproar echoed across the Empyrean trial. Number 1 under Grand Empyreans, Wang Lin. Today, the ranking of Ascendant Empyreans changed. This Wang Lin shocked everyone instantly. From now on, my celestial clan will have one more supreme cultivator. Number 1 Ascendant Empyrean, the strongest under Grand Empyreans. He can even be considered the 6th son of my celestial clan, the cultivator most likely to become a Grand Empyrean. These past few days, I've always been prodding myself to wish for likes on the VIDEO, but I always forget now there are only the last 12 hours left to double the likes for the VIDEO. TAD. Hope of likes. Brothers, don't hold back. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 196 Broken Agreement. The cyclone collided with the snake and collapsed. Wang Lin's soul activated his portion of the inheritance, but his heart quickly sank. It seemed that his part of the inheritance wasn't T enough to cause any reaction, despite his heart wanting to leave this place. Wang Lin's expression became gloomy. He had doubts before, and with the inheritance not working here, he confirmed that this place wasn't T the sea of knowledge. As a result, everything he had done before had been a waste. Wang Lin's eyes became cold, but his expression quickly recovered. He was well aware that none of the recent events had been normal. According to the memory from his part of the inheritance, the fact that Tusia's soul became the Dead Sea and Blood Sea when it was split into 2 parts was true. This place really was the Dead Soul Sea. But why wouldn't T the inheritance of knowledge work here? Wang Lin looked around. His gaze fell upon a scale on the 1,000,000-foot-long creature, and a thought came to his mind. His heart skipped a beat as he stared at the scale and memorized its location. When Wang Lin activated his inheritance of knowledge, he felt a faint response from that scale. Although the response was weak, it responded to the call of his part of the inheritance. So that scale must have been special in some way. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His didn't T raise his right arm but gently waved his index finger. A very small rift appeared and quickly disappeared. Wang Lin's movement was every secretive, and the small rift disappeared as soon as it appeared, so no one else noticed. Wang Lin's heart calmed down. The appearance of that rift meant that he could use his unique method of moving around with his portion of the inheritance. He scanned his own bag of holding with his divine sense and sneered in his heart. He had a lot of bags of holding. The one that made him the most worried was the one holding the 10 life-saving treasures, the Huan Yuan beast trap, and the 20 top-quality spirit stones. He had never let his guard down since he received them. He didn't believe that these 10 people would so easily allow him to hold on to these things. What he had said before was to simply mislead them. After a lot of experience with entering the rifts, Wang Lin realized that the rifts that were opened by using the inheritance were different. If one entered it, they wouldn't have to immediately exit on the other side, because there was a small space between entrance and the exit. The space was filled with chaotic energy that prevented any divine sense to enter. He experimented with it before. He took out a flying sword and threw it into the rift. When the sword entered the rift, he lost connection with it. Only after the sword came out from the other side was the connection restored. His heart became excited. If he could take advantage of this property of the rift, it could work wonders for him. After pondering a little, Wang Lin took the bag of top-quality spirit stones, the beast trap, and the 10 instruments, mixed them up a bit, and placed them in 3 different bags of holding. At the same time, a change occurred. Dumu's group looked at each other, and following the old man, put their hands together. A light beam connected the 10 of them. forming an irregular shape that surrounded Ta-Sen. Ta-Sen's cold eyes glanced at the 10 people. His face revealed a cold smile. He sneered, "You 10 have waited so many years and now finally found an opportunity? Very good." The old man's face became gloomy. Without a word, his 2 hands constantly changed. The other 9 followed suit. Their hands changed signs faster and faster. The irregular shape that had been formed suddenly started to glow and close in on Ta-Sen. Ta-Sen smiled coldly as he looked away. He looked at the creature and slowly said, "It seems you guys have already been in contact with each other. You plan to seal me again." The creature stared at Ta-Sen and calmly said, "After sealing you, these 10 will each get part of the inheritance." With this large of a temptation, anyone would agree. Ta-Sen didn't seem to care about the irregular shape quickly closing in on his body. He started to laugh loudly. His right hand held the spear and suddenly struck forward. A series of booms could be heard. A large black dragon suddenly appeared and charged at the irregular shape. Shortly after, the red-haired man pointed his finger at his brow while coldly looking directly at the old man and shouted, "Explode!" The old man's expression changed. His body started to glow red. Slivers of chaotic hue came out of him as his body trembled. He quickly placed his hand on his stomach and shouted, "Scatter!" Suddenly, the red light was vented out of his body. The other 9's faces became more serious and their hands changed signs. This caused them to switch to a state in which they could absorb QI. The red light quickly split into 9 red lights and entered the bodies of the 9 people. They were glowing red. The old man quickly shouted, "Close!" In that moment, the red light quickly left the 9 people's bodies, became one again, and went back to the old man's body. The moment the red light entered his body, he trembled and spat out a mouthful of black blood. His face suddenly paled. He stared at Ta-Sen and grinned. "Ta-Sen, since this old man dared to attempt to kill you, I already have a method to break your technique. This technique is useless against me." All these events felt like they took a long time, but they happened within the span of a few breaths. Ta-Sen secretly sneered. He pointed his finger at his brow and looked at the 9 other people, one by one, and shouted, "Explode!" The old man's eyes lit up, and he quickly shouted, "Li Pang!" Ta-Sen paused. He faintly remembered the words Li Pang. It was the name of the person from the group of 11 that had escaped from him all those years ago. At this point, a laugh appeared from the mouth of the creature. That voice clearly wasn't from the creature, but from another person. The creature opened its mouth and spat out a core. A tumor grew on the core. The tumor was tightly attached to the core, as if it were a parasite. After the tumor grew a bit, it split open and a person's face appeared from within. The face looked very scholar-like, but the eyes, that were filled with evil like a demon lord's eyes, coldly stared at Ta-Sen and spit out a complicated chant. The chant created 10 circles that quickly appeared around the 10 people and completely negated Ta-Sen's method of exploding the soul fragments. Ta-Sen jerked his head around and coldly stared at the face. His expression became dark, and he said, "It seems the reason I couldn't catch you all those years ago was because you were saved by this animal." The head smiled bitterly, revealing a look of resentment. His voice was filled with hate and said, "Word for word, back when the 11 of us believed your lies, broke the seal that 2C had placed on you, and allowed you to regain your freedom, we realized that that was the biggest mistake of our lives. Today we will clear up our mistake. It doesn't matter if it's the inheritance of power or inheritance of knowledge, both will be ours." Ta-Sen moved the spear in his hand. He revealed a sarcastic smile and calmly said, "First, it's 10 people betraying me, then this animal was hiding another person. It can just be these 2 moves. What else is there?" With that, he gazed at Wang Lin and the hundreds of dumbfounded demonic cultivators that were outside the battlefield. The head that was connected to the core sneered, "You will find out." With that, he communicated with the creature using some unknown method. The creature suddenly moved violently and coiled in the water. Its enormous body kept coiling until it reached the height of Ta-Sen and completely surrounded him. Within the creature's body, the black dragon formed by the spear stopped a dozen feet from the irregular shape. As a result, Ta-Sen was completely surrounded. Ta-Sen's expression remained calm. He let out a sarcastic smile and spit out a purple light that became the half-moon blade. It landed in his left hand. Ta-Sen held the spear in his right hand and the half-moon blade in his left hand. He attacked with both. Suddenly, The irregular shape that surrounded him showed signs of collapse. Ta Sen's eyes lit up. He threw the two weapons forward and they each formed a meteor that hit the edge of the irregular shape. Among the 10 people, 4 of them spit out a mouthful of blood and trembled as if they couldn't hold on much longer. In that moment of crisis, the creature's body suddenly turned stiff and a bump formed on the top of its head. Within the bump, a man covered in scales appeared. His pupils were diamond-shaped. They gave off an inhuman feel. The moment the person appeared, a shriek came from his mouth. The shriek was extremely sharp. It formed countless invisible blades that homed in on Ta Sen. At the same time, the old man's expression turned rigid. His forehead was covered in sweat. The irregular shape formed by the 10 of them solely depended on themselves to maintain. With every shake caused by Ta Sen, their hearts trembled. He looked at Wang Lin and lowly growled, "Little friend, act now." Wang Lin's expression became gloomy. He stared at Ta Sen. Since the moment the old man started to act, Wang Lin had observed Ta Sen, and from the start until now, the old man's eyes were still calm. After hearing the old man's words, Wang Lin suddenly moved and charged toward the old man. The old man's expression became excited. Right when he was about to speak, Wang Lin's direction shifted, and he flew past the old man and quickly charged toward the million-foot-long creature. Wang Lin didn't care if these people lived or died. All he cared about at that moment was one thing, and that was the special scale on the creature. In fact, from the start, he never planned to help with the so-called seal. Wang Lin didn't believe he had the power to do so. The old man's expression became sullen. He snorted and placed his hands on his chest, forming a diamond shape. He shouted, "My instrument, attack!" The moment the old man's words came out, Wang Lin's right hand quickly opened a rift and entered it. 5,000 words in a major chapter. Seizing the moment when brothers and sisters feel comfortable, Lio wishes for the like button for the video, for sharing, for channel follows without hesitation. Wang Lin left, but an even bigger buzz was set off here at the Empyrean trial. Wang Lin breaking through the trials caused everyone to become very excited and feel differently. However, they all remembered the name Wang Lin, the name that replaced Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao as the #1 below Grand Empyreans. White-haired Ascendant Empyrean. Everything related to the soul armor was silently buried in the bottom of their hearts. No one mentioned it anymore, and they also understood that even if they had a soul armor, they couldn't pass the Palace. What Wang Lin had done set off a huge wave of people attempting the trial. After witnessing Wang Lin, many cultivators attempted the trials. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi silently looked at the departing Wang Lin. There was a flash of light in his eyes and he left. He wanted to immediately find Wang Lin. No matter how great the price, he was going to recruit Wang Lin. Wu Feng let out a sigh. After Wang Lin passed through the Palace, he knew recruiting Wang Lin would be even more difficult than Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. Fortunately, I formed a good relationship with him. Even if I fail, my relationship with him will be a lot better than the other Grand Empyreans. Wu Feng pondered and then disappeared. In the Imperial Palace, there was a thunderous rumble. The dragon throne was turned to dust by the Celestial Emperor. Beside him, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao opened his eyes. His eyes were without spirit, and he silently lowered his head. Ming Dao, I will give you the opportunity to head to the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation area. Whether you can wash away the humiliation depends on you. That Wang Lin should come to the Imperial City. If you can kill him, you are still #1 among Ascendant Empyreans. This time, Ming Dao didn't hesitate like before and silently nodded. Central Continent, top of Mount Emperor. Grand Empyrean Ju Di stood on top of the mountain and withdrew his gaze from the autumn leaf. After a long time, he opened his eyes and revealed a hint of light. I wasn't able to recruit Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, and now he has a grudge against the Celestial Emperor. I want to see who can compete with me. Grand Empyrean Ju Di turned as he looked at Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi, who was slowly opening her eyes, and laughed. Hai Zi, follow teacher. Teacher will accept this Wang Lin as my disciple and make him your senior brother. How about it? Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi was startled and was filled with joy. Eastern Continent, in the Purple Yang sect. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up and he continued to mutter. The Palace. This person actually passed the Palace. This person will definitely be fought over by the other Grand Empyreans. Little Ancestor, you must divinate his location. We must quickly find him. The two little girls beside him blinked and immediately stood up. The three of them turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. However, just as they disappeared, a small hand appeared beside the joyous Screed. "Ah, I forgot to bring Little Wolf. Little Wolf, don't worry, we wouldn't forget you. Your performance before was good, so come with us." Tears flowed out from Greed's eyes as his neck was grabbed by the little hand and he disappeared from the stone room. At the Grand Sage continent, Wang Lin's body had been sitting inside the cave while he was in the Empyrean trial. The sea dragon had shrunken a lot as it lazily lied there. Lu Jinbiao was jumping around the sea dragon's body. Sometimes he gently touched some spots and other times he scratched other spots as if there was an itch. The sea dragon squinted its eyes as if it was very comfortable. It would even let out a few snorts as it twisted its body. "Kay, how is it? Comfortable? Your family's Grandpa Jin learned this back in the cave world from a clan that specialized in breeding ferocious beasts. It's a set of massage techniques that, if used every day, will accelerate your blood flow and give you the pleasure of feeling like you're floating in the clouds. Endure, endure. Don't move, it's not finished yet. If you can endure, I won't do it for you anymore." Lu Jinbiao was covered in sweat, but he didn't feel tired. He continued for a long time before he lied down, gasping for air. "Damn it, I am tired to death. We are both sea dragons. I finished doing it for you, now it's your turn." Lu Jinbiao looked at the sea dragon. "I am really a sea dragon. Didn't I tell you before, I was in an ancient place and was inflected with a spell that turned me into a person." The sea dragon looked at Lu Jinbiao with hesitation and twisted its body as if it was reluctant. Seeing the sea dragon like this, Lu Jinbiao's eyes widened and he became filled with anger. "Hey, are you going to talk reason or not? I am telling you now, if you don't do this, I am not going to give you any more massages. This is a mutual exchange, you know. I can tell you, there is another guy following master named Shu Liguo. He is very vicious, and if you don't cooperate, you will have to be careful once he gets here." Lu Jinbiao's eyes were filled with dread as he spoke to the sea dragon. The sea dragon hesitated for a while and was filled with anger. During this time, Lu Jinbiao somehow instilled the fact that Shu Liguo was this terrible person who especially liked to bully sea dragons. Just the thought of Shu Liguo as someone who it had never met before would make it very unhappy. After a long time, it opened its mouth and let out a mouthful of origin essence. Lu Jinbiao immediately began to absorb it. His eyes were filled with hidden pride as he began to cultivate. "Inchim, might is still I, Jin Biaozi, who is stronger. This sea dragon is so dumb and easy to cheat. With its help, I can easily increase my cultivation level. Then I have slowly trained it to glare at little Shu. Soon, even without me, the sea dragon will suppress him. Ha ha! Just you wait, little Shu!" While Lu Jinbiao was feeling proud, Wang Lin opened his eyes and they lit up. However, when he saw Lu Jinbiao and the sea dragon, he was startled for a moment. Wang Lin frowned. He saw that the sea dragon was willing, so he ignored it. After a long time, the sea dragon finished letting out the breath and lazily laid there. After Lu Jinbiao finished cultivating and completely absorbed the origin essence from the sea dragon, Wang Lin stood up and glanced at him. "Don't make a fuss. It's time to leave." When Wang Lin glanced at him, Lu Jinbiao felt like all his thoughts were exposed. He blinked as he revealed an embarrassed expression and quickly stood up. "Master is done. Yes, we will go wherever you say. This when will we go find Shu Liguo?" The sea dragon was getting up, but when it heard the name Shu Liguo, anger appeared in its eyes. It remembered the name Shu Liguo and felt deep hatred for this fellow that specialized in bullying sea dragons. "Guests are coming. We will soon head to the central continent. As for finding Shu Liguo, it will all depend on fate." Wang Lin waved his sleeve and put Lu Jinbiao and the sea dragon away. He walked out of the cave and appeared at the top of the mountain. He stood there, facing the mountain wind as his white clothes fluttered. "Who will be the first to arrive?" Wang Lin muttered. He wanted to shock everyone just for this moment. While Lu Jinbiao was teaching the sea dragon to be angry at Shu Liguo, far away, in the imperial city at the central continent, there was a person in blue. He had the face of a villain and he suddenly sneezed. The imperial city was the center of the celestial clan, and it covered a large area. It was almost the size of an entire continent. Such an extraordinary city would be impossible for mortals to build, unless countless people spent tens of thousands of years building it. This city was so large it was endless and could be easily compared to a continent. In the eastern part of the city, in a rather busy street, there was a young man in a flower shirt. This young man walked in big strides and wore a proud expression. He was being followed by more than a dozen guards. Each guard was a third-step cultivator, and the purple-robed guard was actually a golden exalt. These guards were all male, and they silently followed behind. Beside the young man were two others. One of them was a teenager. He had an arrogant look and wore blue, but he walked differently than others, as if he was holding something between his legs. The other was a young man in red who looked like someone with ambition, and at this moment he sneezed 7 or 8 times in a row. "Yo, Lord Shu, did you get sick from yesterday's cold wind for us to hear you sneezing?" the haughty teenager said, his voice extremely sharp. "Bah, you little fellow who is not male or female, your grandpa Shu went out to have fun last night. What, do you want to come with me? Come, let us go tonight." The young man had a ferocious gaze. You shameless thief." The teenager rolled his eyes. "I am shameless? Your grandpa Shu is shameless? You better be careful tonight. I am going to your room tonight, and then I'll be shameless. Hey, you better be careful." The youth named Shu smiled with bad intent as he looked at the teenager. "Don't quarrel. The two of you are so noisy, quarreling endlessly. Little Red, you kick the door. Let that old Li family know how strong this king is. Damn it, to dare bully me. And you, little Ching, remember, if things go bad, crush the jade to get my big brother to teach them a lesson." The young man in the flower shirt in front snorted and pointed at the giant mansion ahead. The mansion was very large, and from a distance it gave off a powerful pressure. The door was closed and there was no guard. On the door was a green plaque with a red background, and 2 golden words written on it, Li Mansion. These 2 words gave off a shocking sword auras that filled the world. Good. The youth named Shu became spirited, as if he loved doing this kind of thing. He rushed toward the door to give it a kick. There was a bang, but the door didn't move at all. However, the youth named Shu didn't care at all, as if he knew it would be like this. "People of the Li Mansion, listen well. Your grandpa Shu is here. Open the door and welcome your guest." The young man in the flower shirt laughed after hearing this. He looked very excited and spoke to the young man in blue beside him. Do you see? Learn a little. This is why this king values this Shu. Welcome your guests. What a good line. Waking up early today, not updating on time, even earlier. Leo went to deal with household chores.
All I were, single love inside your bed sheet.